Hi, Yasmine.
Hi, Ben.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
We're not good.
I'm doing my best. I guess I'm doing my
The
best.
first thing you said when you showed up was just like bad.
Eddie opened the window and was like, "How are you?" And I'm like, "I'm great." And then I was like, "I'm not great," but I'm trying.
I feel like it's the first time ever you can like be honest, and people are like, "Yeah, I know."
Yeah,
Even people who like didn't
downer.
lose work or anything, because they still feel emotions and they feel bad for love. Like everyone knows somebody.
Yeah.
Everyone knows somebody that's like really, really suffering. Unfortunately, if you are an artist, musician, or in a music or restaurant industry, you're like really suffering.
It's dead.
And you are in a lot of things like that. I'd like to start off the podcast just kind of telling the listeners about yourself and maybe where you're from a little bit and what you do and your background and all the little facets you do.
Okay. I guess I'll start off. My name's Yasmine Mifdal. I was born in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm a first generation American of Moroccan immigrant parents. I grew up, in like a south suburb of Boston. I did a lot of music stuff growing up. I always loved that kind of thing. I decided to go to college for it. I don't know, like the full life story.
It's hard to talk about
know.
yourself, yeah.
I decided to go to college for it. I played jazz saxophone through high school, middle school, the whole thing. And then wanted to go to college to be a jazz saxophonist. Soon realized that I would just make absolutely no money and that I didn't need to pay $100,000 for them to tell me, you need to practice more for 4 years. So I kind of switched more into the audio realm, did recording, hated sitting in front of a computer for 10 hours editing, and then kind of fell into live sound through our friend Trevor.
Mm-hmm.
And then, just kind of really loved that from there. And that kind of opened up events for me, AV, I started coming here and seeing more of the DIY scene. I can't believe it's been I think I was
five years.
I was a sophomore in college the first time I came here.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Isn't it?
That is crazy.
And you know what? You've done a lot at such a young age.
Thank you.
You really have. Like in music, by the way, you're phenomenal saxophonist. Some of my favorite projects I've been a part of, Afterglows.
Oh, I love Afterglows.
The two records you played on, which again you're gonna be back eventually
I would
to
love
do
to,
it.
yeah.
You made it. Like everyone obviously contributed, but what you added to the texture you're great, and you're good at improvising too.
Yeah, that's my niche in jazz. I guess I've always been into the more weird, free, improvised kind of thing. So Afterglows was a great outlet for that.
I that's why I love that project, because I feel like everyone who has been a part of it or has done it has that little part of them. They're like, yeah, you can play traditional music, follows traditional chord progressions, traditional time signatures, but going into improvisation where nobody knows what's going to happen. And I mean, none of us, I can't speak for you, but I know you're kind of classically trained in jazz, but I'm not. So playing with people who are, it's great to be able to follow that and feed off of it. And your live sound engineering is amazing as well.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you for your help at the shows here, and especially DZ Fest.
I want to thank you though for letting me have a place as a very young engineer to kind of try things out and be a part of stuff. And being here and doing sound here gave me a lot of confidence to go elsewhere and be I can do this.
That's awesome.
It definitely started here for me. I can't
great.
lie.
I mean, throwing someone into something like DZ Fest is pretty crazy.
Yeah. I remember
especially
my first
you were
one.
22 or something.
I think I was
20.
20.
21? 20?
I'm 24 right now.
Oh my God, I forgot how young you are. I'm 31, so I'm just wow.
Yeah,
well,
I'll be 25 in April, but I think I was 19 the first time I came here or something like that.
That's insane. Well, yeah, you and Trevor and Joe all and Felipe all really great engineers. So I'm so grateful to be able.
College.
Yeah, I mean, Columbia College, when it comes to live sound engineers, they don't really mess around.
Everywhere else.
I can't speak for everywhere else. And you also have done NASCAR.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, because holy cow. That's insane.
Yeah, that is honestly, when I got the call to go interview for that job was the weirdest day of my life. I was a senior in college. It was, I think, right before Christmas break-ish. I was literally sleeping. I think I had like Tuesday mornings off from school and I was sleeping. And when I was in college, I was a teaching assistant for the head of the live sound department. So I was the lead teaching assistant. So I managed our student-led learning facility, which is actually the only student-led learning facility on the Columbia College campus.
I didn't know that.
Yes, completely student-run and led. So I was in charge of that my senior year and junior year, but the supervisor the department head of the whole program, Jack Alexander, called me at 7:25 in the morning. And he was like, "Listen, kid, I got a big opportunity for you." He's like, "You have hit the big leagues." He's like, "I will call you more later. You cannot tell a soul this." And I was like, "What?" Like, just like half asleep, like. And then I get an email from him basically telling me that he had worked with this company called Point Source, which is the company I worked for. They're contracted under NASCAR to do installs and operate during the NASCAR races. So we operate, I think, 8 to 10 tracks. Like, fluctuates yearly, like based on contracts and how they run all that. But Jack had worked with them before. Basically, they called him, said that they needed another engineer to run sound, like do front of house, and he recommended me. And a couple weeks later, my boss, Danny, now called me, was like, "Hey, come down to the racetrack in Joliet." I took my roommate's car and literally bolted down there, had the interview, and they hired me on the spot and gave me a tour of the facility. And it was honestly the craziest experience of my life.
That is insane.
Yeah, like.
You were 22?
I was 21 at the time.
21.
Yeah, I got it.
And you're engineering the sound for NASCAR.
I signed my contract right before I went home for Christmas, and then I had a contract to start in May, like right when I was done with school. So I finished my last semester of school, which was really rough because I was like, I have a job on the end of this. And I waited and I did something that is, I don't know, I wouldn't totally recommend it, but it helped me get a jump start. And I think that's another reason why I was able to start doing what I do so young, is I took all my major-related courses first, and then I took all my gen eds junior and senior year.
Risky.
Yeah.
Tricky.
Difficult. Well, I mean, I took some peppered here and there, of my general courses, but the majority of my senior year was just me filling in gen eds.
Wow, I didn't even know you were allowed to do that.
Yeah. So if you just stay on the course of if you start taking the early classes, a lot of them open up to where you can kind of take a lot of them at the same time. So I would just double up, and I was a music double major for my first 2 years too. So a lot of that kind of translated over too, and kind of got me out of some basic level. And I had taken recording classes the summer previously online at Berkeley. So
you did everything. You did it right.
Yeah.
And you did it smart.
Yeah,
That's
but
awesome.
then senior year, I'm I have this job and I'm in English too with a bunch of college freshmen just
oh, that does kind of suck. But knowing that you had that job was probably a nice relief.
Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I remember hearing that. I don't know if you told me or Trevor, but I was just like, whoa, amazing. And I remember you couldn't do DC Fest because of it.
No, I was so bummed out.
And I was like, hey, I mean, what a great reason, though.
Yeah.
I mean, DC Fest is wonderful, but what a great reason you're mixing NASCAR. If you can go into detail, what does that entail, mixing a professional car race?
It's a lot. We do broadcast feed and the PA feed, so you're dealing with a PA that's set for up to 100,000, 120,000 people sometimes.
And it's loud.
It's loud because you have to be over 40 race cars on a track.
And how loud are they? What's the dB of those things?
The highest I've measured is 133 8-weighted. And that can be from up where I'm standing sometimes. I don't really go on the track.
What about the fans? Do they wear earplugs?
Not all of them. It's kind of crazy.
Oh my God.
Anytime I'm on the track, I have plugs in to my minus 25s in, and then I have shooters over.
And then you hide inside of a capsule.
Yeah, literally. And I'm
oh God,
holding the extra wireless mics on the side of the track.
That is insane.
Shaking.
133, beyond
crazy.
the threshold of pain for
Crazy.
those listening.
Yeah, ruin your hearing.
Destroy your hearing.
Destroy your hearing.
You have not even 1 second you could withstand that, technically.
But if you're a cooler of beer deep, who cares?
Oh,
Only sport you can bring your own cooler of alcohol.
Of course.
As long as it's not glass. I learned that. It's the weirdest culture. It's like of any sport I've ever seen. I'm not like involved with any other sports cultures, I guess.
Yeah.
And I mean, I used to go to soccer games with my dad when I was a kid, but this is a whole different level of like people come at like 8 a.m. So like I guess like a typical day is like we pull up an hour before the gates open, so an hour before the spectator gates. Well, before the race weekend, we'll come in a couple days before, make sure the PA is working, send signal between the TV truck, all that, make sure everything's faxed out and plugged in
that
correctly.
PA system has got to be
Yeah.
powerful.
And the other thing is it's a lot of those setup days are a lot of like chasing around dead amps because they only use a lot of these tracks 3 days a year. So like this one in Michigan, they use it 3 days or they use it twice a year. So two times a year for 3 days at a time. And then it's just ice. And you have all these rooms with like hundreds of amps and stuff and pipes and all this other infrastructure for the track, and stuff breaks all the time. And so you just kind of get there and then you have to chase around and play pickup and clean up of what has been broken, what isn't working, like, because they're all, and a lot of these systems were installed like before I was born.
Old school stuff.
Yeah, they like to tell me
That
that all the
old
time.
power
They're
amps.
like, we've upgraded a lot now to like all the power amps are like new lab.
I was gonna say, I mean, the money's got to be
Yeah,
there.
exactly. The tracks have money to do it, but a lot of like the wiring is like older, and a lot of like telephone wiring, which was new to me, and a lot of fiber like wiring, and that was like a mind, like learning how fiber works. Like, yeah, it was just kind of hard for me to grasp at the beginning, but. Yeah, so we'll go in, we'll kind of make sure everything's still running and everything's talking to each other. Everything's networked, so we have like a view like we use the BSS London software. You can open it, see everything. Amps are talking to each other, great. Then we'll just run music. And then so the day of the race, we'll get there, run music, like just background music. And the craziest thing to me in the whole wide world of this whole job is these tracks don't have their own playlists. I'm playing music off of my personal laptop.
Are you serious?
My personal laptop covered in like Gucci Mane stick.
Please try again.
Keep talking. Siri.
What's up, Siri?
Did we say Siri?
I might have.
Oh, I think you said laptop.
Oh.
For
Yeah,
those
that'll
listening,
set
I
her
think
off.
Siri heard that and was like,
Siri heard laptop.
the connection.
She
We
said,
both
"What?
heard God.
Y'all talking about me?
I hate technology sometimes. It's too smart. It's like,
Yeah.
wait a minute. I heard that.
I can't do all that. I finally updated. I got Adobe Creative Cloud for just to learn over quarantine because I have nothing else to do. So I had to upgrade my computer, which I hadn't done for a while because I didn't want to ruin all my plugins on Pro Tools.
Yeah.
So I had to do that, and now my computer is searing at me all the time.
So, back to you're using your own personal laptop for the playlist
yes,
for NASCAR.
Literally my own laptop, just like my own Spotify account, like literally my like personal Spotify account, and like for 12 hours a day, and I have to come up with music that is so clean, no insinuation of sex, no damn, no hell.
So no WAP.
No WAP, no.
I just picked the most extreme
I
one.
love it.
Oh, wait. So I'm going to ask you the $1 million question. Yasmine, a young Moroccan female engineer for NASCAR.
Yeah,
How did that
yeah.
go over
First
with?
year was
That might
weird.
be the most white male dominated
Absolutely.
sport culture ever.
Yeah.
Like ever.
My entire company is all older white men. Everybody who works for NASCAR race control, with the exception of a couple like newer, like young females, is all older white men. All the announcers are old white men. Drivers are all white men. Fans.
Not old.
Not old.
It's a young man's game.
There are some people
yeah?
who have been doing it for like just years, because you can, I guess if you like, I don't really know like the exact ins and outs of it, but I guess if you race for a team, like, and you still run the race, you still get paid, or I don't know. Like
okay.
people just do it to keep
Got it.
I heard a joke about this driver, a truck race driver called Joe Nemechek, and everybody just calls him Joe Need My Check because he always loses, but he still just
Gets
gets
He
paid.
gets
He
paid.
needs his check. So
Wow.
yeah,
that's got to be rough though.
yeah, it was definitely something to get adjusted to. I definitely didn't love it the first year I did it. Like I loved the work, but it was definitely just like I would come back to my hotel room at the end of the day just like a shell of a human from listening. And this was before like I guess people were like super conscious about racial injustice and like
Before it was hit, right?
yeah, before which is another whole thing in itself. But I don't know. It was just a lot of like weird. There was some incidents, and I won't obviously get into it, but
Right.
there are some times that I was like, wow, no.
Man. I'm sorry. That sucks.
Yeah. I mean, I think it comes with the job. The whole everywhere I go in general with my job, I always find that being a young woman who does not dress like a like traditional like stagehand or sound engineer or like crew person, like
Yeah.
it always just kind of gets me either ignored, looked over, or just like disrespected, which is shitty, but it is what it is.
The problem with judging a person by the way they look, color of their skin, not the content of their character,
Yeah.
is it's been a problem forever. And I'm obviously I have none of the problems that you face, but I've always kind of dressed a little wacky.
Yeah.
And I've never been taken serious by people who don't know me because of that.
Yeah, I'll never like.
Yeah.
I basically got or like quit / got fired from House of Blues for that.
Right, let's talk about that. So, aside from NASCAR,
Yeah.
you've done live sound at a lot of great and popular and legitimate professional
Yeah.
venues in the city,
Yeah.
like House of Blues.
House of Blues, Evanston SPACE. I love them. I love that place. Evanston SPACE is my favorite venue.
That's a
that
cool
I've ever
place.
worked out. It's a very small venue, but it sounds so good, and everybody who works there is so nice, and I love it there. But yeah, House of Blues, a couple other ones around town. I've done Lincoln Hall and Shuba's a handful of times.
Nice.
I've done a show or two at the Metro, a show or two at Bottom Lounge. But
Two Tree shows here.
two tree shows
Two
here
Tree
and
goes
there.
there.
A little bit of touring, a little bit of. But yeah, at House of Blues, and to go back to that, I remember my first day at House of Blues. I came backstage into the production office, and they're like, "Are you the new green room server?" I was like, "No, I'm the new front of house engineer, actually."
And they're like, oh,
Yeah,
shoot.
literally, I'm wearing like a big green turtleneck and leggings, and I'm like, "Nope, not me."
So you're not wearing like the black.
No,
I
I don't like looking like a neckbeard, to be honest.
can't do the black.
If it's required, I'll do it, obviously.
Sure,
And like there are a lot of jobs where I am required to like especially with like corporate AV stuff that I do. Like I have to come nicer dressed or like in all black and kind
Right.
of be. But for House of Blues, they're like, we want everybody to be who they are, blue hair. So yeah, but then at the same time, I've gotten like pulled by security because they think I'm like a fan trying to run backstage when I'm really just trying to change the band over from front of house, so the 1,000 people in the
Yeah.
audience can watch the show.
And you've mixed some really legitimate artists.
Yeah.
Like, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't you mix Billie Eilish for her after show
Mm-hmm.
at the House Blues after La Bluesa?
I didn't mix hers; she had her own engineer for that, but I mixed the openers and stuff and assisted, I guess.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Because obviously, what happened in her
Yeah.
trajectory. That's
Yeah.
cool though.
Yeah, some really cool artists I've mixed for LMA before. I toured with Smino, toured with Xavier Ömar, mixing for both of them. Trying to think of other people I've mixed for. It feels so far away at this time. Like thinking of shows I've done, I've mixed for the internet. That was a really crazy experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the touring, you did a lot of like professional touring last year.
Yep, both last year
And the
and
year before.
yeah, I guess I did I'm coming up on, it's almost been a year since my last tour. I toured for my last tour ended February of last year.
What was that like touring?
I love it.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. It is not as glamorous, obviously, as everybody thinks it is. It is a lot of hard work. And especially for me, I'm doing mostly like 14 to 18-hour days. It depends. For Smino's tour, it was definitely on the longer end of that, and we were out for 9 weeks straight. So living on a bus with 14 people for 9 weeks straight can obviously be like, it was amazing, and I loved the experience, like, and I'm so thankful for it, and I think of it as like a literal dream now. Like, I'm like, I can't believe that happened.
Mm-hmm.
But it has its ups and downs. Like, you don't have any time to yourself. Like, you don't, like, if you can't sleep in like loudness, like, you're not sleeping. Like, it's, yeah.
That's so stressful though, because like that tears down your body when you're trying to be productive, and
Yeah.
you need to have a really
And you're doing
clear mind.
6 like 18-hour days in a row,
Yeah.
and then getting 1 day off. So getting used to that, I think that was the problem for me. That tour was I was not used to doing that for that extended period of a time while traveling yet, because all the NASCAR ones are like fly dates, or like I go out for like a week and a half, or like that was the only other touring I'd ever done, and I'd done like a week here or like a week here with other stuff. But 9 weeks, going like 9 weeks on my first one was like crazy.
That's insane.
But also, I'll like the best experience of my life. Like so much fun, so crazy. Got to see so many cool things. Got to do so many cool things I would have literally never gotten to do otherwise. Like
just traveling.
Yeah, and traveling. I got to travel, get paid to travel the world and see music venues. And
did you go outside of America at all?
We went to Canada.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And what was like the biggest show you had to mix for those tours?
We did Coachella on the Smino tour both weekends. That was crazy. To do
my
Coachella was insane. It was absolutely insane.
For those listening, Yasmine is 24 years old. And yes, I know she mixed DZ Fest. Come on now. Gotta start somewhere.
Gotta start somewhere. That taught me a lot, because you had me doing 10 bands a day, 2 days in a row. That's what it's like.
In a very DIY fashion.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what, you have to pull it together. We only had so much equipment. It was hot. Consoles are shutting off. Trevor's out the spinny wheel on the Yamaha.
You and the camaraderie and the fun and the chaos of the sound tent is the thing I'll miss the most. Like the three of us in there is just great. And I'm running around grabbing hot dogs and tacos for everyone, and it's just, we're the only ones who truly know like the pain and the stress of like what's really going on behind the scenes, like what's really going on, and we just keep it to ourselves, and no one knows. Everyone's like, oh, it went well, and we're like, yeah, it went well. Yeah. They don't know that we had like, this failed, that shut off, that overheated. And then you went from that to NASCAR, to doing shows in the city and being a live sound engineer for other big venues, and then doing these big tours in Coachella. How many people were if you can guesstimate, at Coachella when you mixed? Like, at least at the stage you were at. It was
like
tens of thousands.
Yeah, could not see past it. It was crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah, it was like, insane. I can't, like, as I said, right now it just feels like something that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But I look back and I'm like, that happened.
It's gonna happen again.
I know.
For you. I mean, your resume and your connections are probably, you'll get right back into it. Man, so back to what we were saying with NASCAR, because the live sound and audio industry is maybe not as old, I'm making up words here, as NASCAR, but still,
it's still mostly
men in there, and that still comes with a lot of issues.
Yeah, and I noticed that with touring too. It presents itself pretty much everywhere in my job, but yeah, in touring, especially because I'm going to a different venue every day, I'm not working with people I necessarily know. So I'm coming into the house venue, I'm talking to their house engineers. They usually just are like, are you the assistant? Are you the tour manager? Who are you? And I'm like, can you help me flip my board, please? Like, giving them like lists of what I need and stuff. So that can be like something hard to get over, is people just like, I'll walk in and people will be like, okay, who is this? Like, why is she like on stage doing stuff right now?
And I'm sure there's a small percentage that you can just chalk it up to, they're just not used to seeing a woman coming in.
And especially not of my age. Like,
exactly.
Not present, but like I look pretty young. Like, you can tell that I'm pretty young. And and I don't dress like I'm a sound engineer. like I have my tool belt and my black polo shirt and
I got my utility knife
and my
gaff
dickies
tape.
and my boots. Like I don't do that. I just don't. I just dress the way I like to dress, and I wear like Air Forces and like sweatpants.
Which is great.
Yeah,
Be yourself. Why
yeah,
not?
exactly. Like, who cares? I'm behind the board. Like,
People just aren't used to it.
yeah. So people just aren't used to that. They're not used to seeing it. So I don't know. I just try to like let my mixes speak for themselves. And it is cool when I see people be like, oh, like when I start testing the PA and I'm like doing it well, and then people are like,
Oh shoot.
oh, are you good? And I'm like, yeah.
It clicks for
Yeah,
them.
people just don't expect me to be like on top of what I have going on
Yeah.
or like have it together or know what I'm doing. So that can be frustrating.
I can't imagine. I can't imagine what it's like. I mean, yeah, it's not an industry that had a lot of women doing front of house stuff. Like I'll go to a lot of venues and I'll see a lot of women on the stage,
Yeah.
stage hands. Yeah, you go to a venue, a lot of the times you'll see women on stage, and then you'll see the women walk around with trays, like serving
Yeah.
drinks. And I've been to a lot of shows growing up, and it was always a guy or two just behind the counter, like every single time.
Every time.
So seeing someone young who doesn't look like they're even from here, and who is dressing funny,
Yeah.
and who's a woman, you're just like, you would not go there. And that is what it is. But as soon as it goes beyond that, when you start belittling or treating someone lesser, that's
Yeah.
when it's like you can give people the benefit of the doubt, just being a little confused about
Yeah.
it, you know. And then it can get a little bad after that
Yeah.
if they don't like. Oh, okay, never mind. That's just the last engineer. Okay, cool.
And I've had to put some people in their place, and I'll do it again.
You
I
should.
will, yeah.
Yeah.
Like people will come in, and I'll like ask for stuff, and they will completely just like not do it or like not know what I'm talking about. Something like it's crazy how people are like it's crazy how little skill sometimes you need to have to get hired at a venue. To be honest, from what I've seen, like I've
Give me
seen
an example. What kind of little skills?
I've seen a lot of like first day running monitors. I'm like, damn, you have a tour coming in with 58 inputs.
Oh boy.
This can't be your first day, my guy. Like, I need you to know where.
Yeah.
I remember I was like patching in. I think I was in Texas somewhere. I think I was in Houston, but I was patching in monitors, and this guy was so intent on telling me that because for Smino's show I was doing monitors. I had 10 stereo in-ears and then a full stage mix. So 6 monitors across the front, side fills, drum fill, all that. But also doing in-ears. So for I would test obviously the like floor monitors every day, and this guy was telling me, like, I was like, this isn't coming, like left is coming out of center, like this is not right. Like, and he was like, no, it's right. And I was like, no, it's not. Like, and we just like got into it. I don't know. And just I just hate having to like be like very like firm, and people are like, she's bitch. Like,
Yeah, let's talk about that. That is a huge problem.
yeah,
When women are firm, they're called
yeah,
a bitch, or they're called stuck up, or they're called
Bossy.
needy or bossy. And when a man is, you're just like,
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, he takes initiative.
what a
Yeah.
he's gonna be a CEO.
He's a self-starter.
Yeah, he's a go-getter.
He's built different. Like,
Yeah, I try my best to not do any of that
Yeah.
myself, and take it personal if someone else is like just being on top of stuff.
yeah.
It's a huge problem though.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Exactly. I'm like, I know what I need, and I need you to give it to me. What's wrong with me saying that? Like,
No,
why is that bitchy
nothing's
or,
wrong
like,
with it. No,
rude?
and especially if you say it, you can say things that are firm and direct in a nice way. Like I remember, like my favorite thing about doing DZ Fest with people like you and Trevor is the trust I have. Like I don't have to worry about anything on stage. It got to the point by the last 2-3 years where I just like worried about recording, and
Yeah.
I never even asked how you guys set up the monitors, how you guys just know what you're doing. It was amazing. And the most advice I ever had to give was 5-6 hours in, you just be like, oh, I think the guitar is a little quiet. Just like little
Yeah.
things here, and like subtle stuff that you start to get listeners. You start to
Yeah.
overthink. Maybe you're worrying about something else and
Exactly,
you
and
miss
you
it.
do 20
and you just
bands,
can't
and
need
it's like-
one extra ear to be like, maybe this a little bit. But it's never like, what's your problem? What's wrong
Yeah.
with this? Why aren't you doing that? Turn that up. Get out of the way. Like it's never that. You need to have that trust. And for some reason, trusting women with these technical things is like a weird thing people
I
have.
don't get that.
I
Like,
don't get it either.
always have people behind me, like, I remember we were touring with this one opener. I will not name names, but his like music director was there, and he would just hang out at front of house and just be like, "It doesn't sound like the record. The bass doesn't sound like the record. This," and I was just like, "Bro, you're not even like you're the opener, and I was doing this as a favor to you." So I just started letting the house engineer deal with that. But I hate the chatter. I like if you have something actually constructive to say, I will love to hear it and I would love to listen to it. But I hate it when people just get behind me and nitpick and are like, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. I would do this different. I'm like, okay, well, you're not doing this, so
That's also the wrong way to word a constructive criticism.
Exactly.
You can be like, hey, it sounds great. I think the lead guitar can come up just a little bit.
Yeah.
It sounds a little better. Like, that's it. Everything sounds great. You could say things
Exactly.
quickly and efficiently.
And people also don't understand it's not supposed to sound like the record.
It can't.
It can't. It's literally
impossible.
impossible. It's not so like it's
Is it in a controlled studio with
Exactly.
acoustic treatment? No.
and all the respect for like the stuff you do, but most of the time it is always like just recording engineers that are in my ear about this kind of stuff. And I'm like, you don't understand the physics of being in the air with this now. We are not in a controlled room. You don't have the same mics you're using every time. I know my positioning doesn't look like what you would position it to get like the warmest and brightest sound, but this is how it's going to sound the best through these.
It's going through reinforcement
Literally,
in
yeah.
a different place with 100 bodies.
Exactly.
It's different.
Air, like microphones, you have there's just so much other stuff to worry about that like I'm like I can't have it like it's impossible for me to make it sound like the record and like that's
Would you agree with this advice? Anybody's going into live sound, do some studying, maybe even take a couple classes or read a book about recording.
Absolutely.
Like actual, and then vice versa. If you're going into audio production and studio recording, learn a little bit. You don't have to do a lot, but like learn the fundamentals of both. So like when I do live sound stuff, I actually really don't. When I'm in that place, the most advice I ever get is subtle. Like I would say maybe like turn the guitar up a little bit. The vocals, like the back of vocals are a little quiet. Like that's it. Because there's a huge difference. I only know so much in that field.
Yeah.
And the person I'm working with, whether it's you or Trevor or somebody else, like they know more because that's what they do.
Yeah.
And who am I? Like they're not going to come in and be like, you didn't record the levels
Exactly.
on that. That hi-hat looks a little quiet in Logic, you know.
Exactly. And it's like we're there to listen to you get listen to your music's aesthetic, process that as fast as we can and try to give you the best thing based on your feedback and what like you want to like your sound to sound like. So it's always like that. And I always find that it's easier for live sound engineers to go into recording than it is for recording engineers to go into live sound because there's a lot of stuff you have to kind of unlearn from recording to like be able to process the idea, like the signal, like the way signal flow works in live sound.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's way harder. Like what I know about live sound is like 10%, 5% of what like an actual live sound engineer knows. And what you probably know about recording and production is probably 20, 30, 40, 50% already, just based on the fundamentals of physics, recording, signal flow, mic placement, those types of things.
Exactly. And now even too, like for all my artists that I tour with, like I record their whole show multi-track every night because a lot of bands like to have that to listen to, practice, feedback, listen to. It's like football teams watching tape.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, Smino's band used to do that every night. Our front of house engineer would record that, and I started doing that myself. And I would just send the file to the band, or like I'll just send a mix, but then I also have the stems in case they want to release a live album.
Right.
And then, hey, look, you're a major artist that released a live album that I recorded.
Yeah,
It works for me,
get credit
and
too
I
for
get
that.
credit for that.
And it's another thing that you can learn how to do and get better at.
So
That's great.
I think it's really important to know at least a little bit of both, or at least if you specialize in one, to know a little bit about the other.
I agree, and to know honestly a little bit about music.
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause it blows my mind when some engineers aren't musicians or don't know anything
Yeah.
about music.
That blew my mind the most about my college program, about how few people like actually studied music beyond just being like, I played guitar in high school.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, there's a lot of psychology behind
Yeah.
it. You learn if you like you're a musician and I am as well. So when you learn how to talk to musicians because you understand how to relate,
Exactly.
and they want more stuff in their monitor, and you understand like everyone wants to hear themselves. It's the psychology of being a musician.
Exactly.
So you can kind of relate and be like, all right, you learn how to talk to them. If you're just a tried and true engineer and you're like, I don't understand why they need this, then that, it's like you're not getting into what their headspace is.
And then that's,
at.
I think, why there's so much distrust between engineers and musicians is because you're just getting this person who doesn't really know much about music telling you, no, you're wrong. And then you're like, no, I need this. And specifically, when I started kind of branching out from being just a musician into also doing audio, I was like, I specifically want to be an engineer, so I am not like that. Like, I want to be like the bridge between the musicians and their sound. Like, I want to be like, and the cool thing is, like, with all the bands I've toured with, I feel like part of the band. They like make me they make me feel like part of the band because
that's a great. That I want to break down that statement. That is so important. The live sound engineer should be the extra member of your band. They really should be. Not so much like a studio engineer, but the live sound engineer really should be.
Yeah, we're on the same team. We're trying to make the same thing happen. And like without me, the show doesn't happen. Without you, the show doesn't happen. So we need each other. Like,
and you alter the timbre of what they put out. Someone has a voice, but in order for it to be stable on stage and to get projected into an acoustic environment, you have to manipulate certain things. So you're playing your own instrument to guide their instruments. You know, it's very important, and it gets overlooked, that balance of like being on the same team. And that one Afterglows record we did, Trevor knows us really well, and he knows like experimental sound, he knows instruments. So I always said like he was the sixth person in that band that night, you know, because he like cultivated the sound that we were making into the crowd.
Manipulates the effects, and that's a part of the full like experience of it is like
tapping the delay, moving up and down reverb.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and I think that also comes with like knowing music, because to be able to use effects like appropriately, I feel like a lot of people are just like reverb, delay, and like compression. I'm just going to turn up the compression. I was talking to my friend about this the other day, about how sick we are of just hearing like overly compressed stuff, and we realize it's just because a lot of people don't really know what compression is, so they're like, I'm just going to turn it up till I can hear it, and then it's just like squashed.
You're absolutely correct. The biggest thing I hear from my students is they say, when we go over mixes in my class, they'll say that, I put the usual on, which means
usual.
EQ,
Reverb,
compression,
day.
reverb, like those three things, if not just EQ, compression. And I go, not everything needs those things.
No.
In fact, when properly recorded well, if you have the right acoustic space with the right musician, with the right amp and guitar, and they got the right tone with the right microphone, with the right angle of incidence and proximity effect and all these things, you don't even need EQ or compression at all, and you shouldn't have it. The world does not have compression.
Less is more.
Less is more. At worst case scenario, subtractive EQ, like keep it simple. You don't have to overdo it. Those things are tools to help guide or polish things that absolutely need it under certain circumstances, but not everything does.
Not everything needs it.
And certain frequency ranges need them more than others, and some don't. And that comes with a lot of experience and paying attention to your craft, but it is a serious problem that is in the music industry, like the loudness war of music. And I always tell people, why would an acoustic guitar by itself with a singer singing softly and then a whole drum kit, strings, 3 guitars, bass, and backup vocals come in, and it's only 3 decibels louder?
Yeah.
That's not even possible.
No.
So why would I translate that through a recording? I want that to be a 12 decibel difference, a 16 decibel difference,
it needs to be
actual dynamic
Yeah.
change of something coming in. So I hate when things get remastered in audio and they do that.
It's like all one level.
Just a chunk of string cheese. I just get so upset with it. But we're going up curtain with that, because it's not the way a lot of music is made, and it's not anyone's real fault. It's a byproduct of the last decade of recording in a room.
Everything's really accessible
and not
now.
really knowing a lot of the fundamentals of how these things work. And it is what it is. But I try to backpedal that and inform my students or anybody I work with on those things. And like a lot of artists, I consider myself an artist, you're going to have your own take on how to accomplish something. So at the end of the day, not with live sound because you can get feedback and a lot of issues.
Yeah.
There is not always a right or wrong way to do certain
No,
things.
definitely not.
Sometimes it's
very
preference.
subjective, and the whole thing is subjective. And even live sound is very subjective. Like I'm never gonna make everybody in the audience like how it sounds.
Right.
Ever. It's not possible.
Right.
Because everybody hears completely different.
Or they're standing in a different spot.
Standing in different spots. They're standing on balconies. They're standing on the floor. Like they're 3 beers deep. That changes your hearing. Like.
They're high.
You're high. It changes your hearing.
They're on acid. Who knows?
Literally, like it all changes.
They're
your
seeing
hearing.
their hearing. You know.
Yeah, exactly. So you already have permanent hearing damage or something. Like it just always. But I'm like if 80%, I'm happy. That's like a very realistic. Like 80 to 90%. I know 10% just by definition and just by like the way I know that nobody hears exactly the same. Maybe are not going to like it or going to have something to say about it.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to get over that because I wanted to be like, I want everybody to love my mix. I want it to be perfect. I want it to sound amazing. And then I would do shows that I was like, that sounded so crazy. Like, that was my best show I've ever done. And then people are like coming up to the booth, like, turn the guitar up. And I'm like
random people in the crowd?
yeah.
People do that?
I get it all the time.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you see that happen when a man is mixing?
No, I've gotten a beer thrown at me.
What?
Yeah. What is it? It was like some punk band. They're a Chicago punk band.
Of course.
Some
These punk rockers and their
I
beers
know.
throwing.
This white guy with dreads threw the beer at me too. I was like, I hate you. I was like,
That's
"Get
terrible.
out." Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, at a console, I'm sitting at a $50,000 Soundcraft VI6.
Oh, and
And
someone throws a beer.
Throws a beer at me.
No one said anything to
Turn
this
the
guy?
guitar up, you bitch. I'm like, no one says anything. And that's ultimately why I quit a venue that is downtown right under Marina City Towers.
Yasmine, that is awful.
Security sometimes is not looking out, which is another thing I want to bring light to.
Yeah, let's talk about that. They need to stop finding people who are smoking pot
Venue security
and worry about things like that.
especially on tour, is always like on bullshit with me. And it's for the same thing as that I don't look like an engineer. They think I'm sneaking back to go find my favorite artist and like cause mischief. And I'm like, I just want to go eat some chips in the office, please. I
just want
been
my
here
cheesy
since
fries.
4 a.m. Like literally like I'm like, I have 10 minutes to go sit down, so let me just do that.
So the classic mansplaining occurs a lot to you.
Yeah, and I've been stuck in like literally like between bands, stuck in like the pit, like at House of Blues, and like had people screaming just horrible things and like, you can't cut in front of me, like stop, like trying to like push me, move me, and I'm like, security, hello, can anybody help me?
And the security is aware of who you are and what your job is.
Sometimes, and that's again why I kind of quit. But yeah, we had an incident where I was going to the bathroom and a security guard pulled me from the back. And I was like, excuse me? And I was like, what are you doing? He was like, you can't go. I was like, I work here. I'm also literally have been here all day. And I'm literally doing front of house. Like, I didn't just start here. I'm not new. I've been here for 3 years. Like, and yeah, I got into it with the GM. We were screaming at each other in the pit and I quit
Wow.
because you shouldn't put up with stuff like that.
No, you shouldn't.
And I was sick of putting up with stuff like that. So,
Man, I'm sorry that happened.
yeah. And it was just a lot of incidents like that. Like, I got pulled off of a truck during a loadout while I was hands on a case because they thought I was a fan trying to sneak into the truck.
And it's all because
Yep.
you're a woman.
Yep.
Wow.
I was like, I've been working with you all day. All day. This was during loadout. The entire day.
That's crazy because I've been doing things in this world for a very long time, and I've not once ever had anything ever happen
I've
to
been
me, ever.
manhandled so many times. Venues I've guested at, like.
What about like DIY stuff, DIY spots?
What about it?
Like, has that ever happened in those locations?
There are a couple places where I've done sound. Not here, never here.
That's right.
Like the people who like own their like cute little PA, their DIY are like, you're not doing this right. You're gonna turn the bass up, and I'm like, okay, you're paying me $50. Like, chill out. But I don't know. Yeah.
And you've ran sound and done your own DIY thing.
Yeah.
right?
So I run an event space with my 2 roommates called Kip Studios.
That's a really cool spot too.
Yeah,
Remember that like cheese and wine hors d'oeuvre,
Yeah, the
little gathering we had.
That was our opening.
Well, it was right before quarantine, right?
No, it was in November.
Oh, it was in November
Yeah.
of
I
last
remember
year.
it was right before I went on tour.
Right.
But yeah, we're an immersive warehouse loft in Bucktown.
Immersive.
We're an immersive warehouse loft space. You can book our space at www.peerspace.com for all your music video needs. Quick plug.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's been really cool. We had a couple shows that I've ran sound for there before, and I love doing that because it's my house.
Yeah,
Like-
I feel
Yeah.
it on that one.
Yeah.
Nothing better than not having to leave your house.
Exactly. Had some equipment provided by Ben,
Well, of course.
the best.
Anytime.
Thank you.
They just
Appreciate
the
it.
the 2X just sit there.
I can't believe that. I love it.
My house is just
I'll take
covered
you
in
up on
gear
that.
everywhere. Of course, anytime. Wow. So we'll forget that quarantine happened.
Yeah.
So you run your own DIY
love
spot where
to.
you have event. All right, we all would, right? You run your own DIY spot where you have shows, events. You run the sound.
Mm-hmm.
You did sound at a bunch of venues. Sound for NASCAR. You're your own musician. You've played on people's
Mm-hmm.
records. You've played with other artists. So you like your scope from being a saxophonist to a DIY spot and everything between. You do a lot.
Yeah.
All by the ripe
This
age of
stuff
24.
is my life. I love
And
it.
toured. Like,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Touring is, I really can't wait for that to come back. This year I had a lot of stuff booked that obviously got canceled.
Yeah.
And this was going to be my first year of full touring with artists. And I'm bummed that I didn't get to have that, but I hope it will come back soon because I definitely don't want to do it forever.
Right. It's a young person's
Yeah, it's
game.
definitely not something I want to be doing like past 30, I don't think.
No.
Yeah.
I could not do that now. Best case scenario, I would do like a 1-week tour with my own band.
Yeah.
Like in a van, and like that's it.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't do the behind the scenes thing like what you were explaining.
Yeah, it takes a lot out of you, like just literally just the traveling aspect of it. Because traveling in general just makes me exhausted sometimes, and to just go from place to place to place, and you're sleeping in this little cabin,
Mm-hmm.
like this little it's literally we call them the coffins.
I was just gonna. It's like a coffin.
It's literally like a coffin. And I remember on the Smino tour, the heat or like the AC in my coffin didn't work for the first 6 weeks. So I had like the most miserable time sleeping. Like I just could not sleep because I was so hot. Because they have these like leather curtains basically that block out all the light. So you get in your coffin, you pull your leather curtain back, and you sit there and you just roast. If there's no, you have like a little vent by your face for that the AC is supposed to come out of, but heat just came out of mine. And but yeah, it's a lot to get used to, like that kind of because you're just sleeping on like it's 12 people in a hallway.
What are the smells like?
It's horrible. It's horrible. You just smell feet. All
I
the
instantly
time.
thought of smell,
It's
like
just feet. Yeah.
coffin smell.
Yeah. So it's like 6 and then 6, and it's literally just like a hallway the width of this table. Maybe it's more narrow.
And is it just like these harsh conditions because of financial reasons?
I mean, it's not harsh. Like the buses are nice. Like,
Right.
These are like very nice, and like there's a lounge in the back, and then there's like a lounge in the front.
Maybe the sleeping
Yeah,
conditions
the
are
sleeping
harsh.
conditions are harsh, but it's like you have to move around 12 to 14 people from city to city every day.
Yeah.
And it's still very expensive, but it is like the most cost-effective way to do that, and also be able to carry like all the gear under the bus or have a trailer attached to the bus and do that. So
Do you think that's why the longevity of a music career can kind of be short because of how, unless you're making big bucks?
yeah, because those buses are expensive. Like a bus for a 6-week tour is like 80 racks or 80K.
Or $80,000 for those who
$80,000.
don't know.
Yeah.
You're just saying every slang
80
but
racks.
what the actual money is. You know,
Okay.
50 large, 80 large, 80K, 80
$80,000.
racks.
Yeah, like is starting at $80,000 for 6 weeks. So yeah, take that out of your. That's like the first thing, and then you have to pay people, and people make anywhere from a couple hundred to a couple thousand a week, or depending, or a day, or I don't know. I charge by the week, so.
One of my favorite things to do sometimes, just for fun, is to reach out to bands I know I can't get to play DZ Fest, just to hear their managers tell me their price. I'm like, I won't name bands, but I've reached out to ones. I'm like, there's no way. And they're just like, oh, it's $50,000 just to play the one show. I'm like,
Oh, sick.
hey, I'm glad they got back to me.
Yeah, that's
but
cool.
like, yeah, no, I mean, it is what it is. Man, the touring world. It's
a lot of money.
it's so overlooked by like fangoers, you know, and attendees. They're just kind of like, oh yeah, like I saw them, they were great, and then
Glamour,
you go
yeah.
home to your
They're like,
house.
They're gonna go on their cool bus,
Yeah.
and it's like we're gonna all go on this bus together and sit like this and eat whatever we could find on Uber Eats, and then you can't use the bathroom on the bus. Like there's a that's like the craziest thing about touring to me is there's a bathroom obviously and you can pee in it, but you can't number 2 in it.
Poop.
Yeah, poop. You can't poop in it. There's like a net in the thing, so
No poop.
no poop. So like just like you get to know people very closely and very well, like living in that kind of condition where it's just like I was telling Ben earlier, I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease this year and was on tour. That was like right before I went on the second leg of a tour. And I got real close with the bus driver because I'd be like, you gotta find me a place to use the bathroom, my guy. Like,
it's a whole inside mixture going
exactly.
on.
You wake up in the coffin, you're like, wake up in the
Forever. Let's just refer to the coffin.
dark.
I'll forever
That's
know
what
what
I
you're talking
do,
about.
yeah.
The coffin.
The wake up in the coffin, I'm like, it's so dark. You jump down. I always take the top bunk. I've fallen out of my bunk a couple times while sleeping. That's been crazy.
Wow. What? Who got to pick what levels to sleep? Was it just random or who first come first
Usually
serve?
it's like when the bus pulls up, you just throw your bag into the one you want.
Yeah.
And I have a phobia of sleeping like under people on bunk beds, so I always take the
Heat
top
rises though. You were talking
Yeah,
about heat.
exactly. But on the last one I went, my AC worked. Smooth.
You know, that's one of the biggest things I missed from this quarantine was the touring bands that would come here. I don't have the experience you have, but I'm aware of how treacherous it is. And I was always happy to like stay the night here.
Take a shower.
I'll feed you some food, make you good coffee, like
Yeah.
rest, stretch, have a space, go for a run.
Run
like,
around in the backyard.
yeah, let's have some fun. We'll talk to someone new besides the same people you've been stuck in a van with for weeks on
Yeah.
end. And that's something I miss a lot is having the touring bands from around the country come here and giving them places to change, do their laundry.
Yeah,
Like,
laundry. Oh my God, it's
all
so
those
less.
things,
Like,
you know?
Yeah, doing laundry on tour is the most stressful. I've paid like a dumb amount of money to like just have it done like on like a day off at like a wash and fold. Like it just puts you in situations where you're like banging on the door after a venue's closed because somebody left their like stuff in the dryer. It's just
Man.
So having a place to do laundry is very appreciated.
Well, for
on
those
tour.
listening, respect bands, artists, and the engineers involved when you go places because they don't live in that city you live in.
No.
They could be
Haven't
3,000 miles
showered,
away.
Yeah.
It's stressful.
Yeah.
And they're not sleeping well. And as you know, your hearing and your perception of sound changes if you're exhausted, sleep
Yeah,
exhaustion.
definitely.
So like that's already stressful. So you don't need people throwing beers at you and telling you to turn this up and turn that
Don't
down.
be an asshole. Mostly,
No.
And like nobody comes up to you at your job and tells you how to do it. So I don't know why people think it's okay to do that to sound engineers.
It's their job.
It boggles my mind.
Yeah.
Like it boggles my mind how many people just come up to me on it's normal to me now. Wow. And I know it's because of the way I look and people are surprised. They're like, "You know what all the buttons do on that thing?" I'm like,
You know that's a potentiometer, right?
literally, I'm like, yeah, I used to use one of those back in the day with my band. I'm like, okay, I'm cool. Next, like,
Man, so what percentage of times when you go somewhere does something like that happen?
like 80%.
80%?
Almost all the time.
Oh,
Yeah, it's cringy.
that
It's
is
really
cringy.
cringy.
That
It's really
hurts.
cringy. Yeah,
I
it
just
hurts.
keep. I don't do this, but I just like keep apologizing to you because I'm just like, God, what is wrong with people?
Yeah,
Why?
I don't know.
You're right. No one goes somewhere like you're an accountant. You're not
Yeah,
counting
exactly.
those numbers,
I'm not
right?
gonna show up at your job on Monday morning and be like, "Are you sure you're doing that right?" Like, so like, get away from me. Like, leave me alone. There's a booth around me for a reason. It's so you can't come in and talk to me. Oh my God, I have a great story.
Tell it. Send it.
I was in San Francisco on the Xavier Ömar tour, and I usually on that tour I would shower in between sound check and the show. So I would like put on the playlist after sound check, like mute everything, and then just like let the playlist play for like 2 or 3 hours or 2 hours until the show started. And I would go take my shower and all that. And then so I was coming back from that to start the show, and this kid is bent over the barricade with his hands on the trackpad of my laptop. And I was like, and I have the music for the room is filled with like 2,000 people. The PA is playing the music. I'm like, if he hits the space bar, if he does anything, it's cut. Like, and that makes me look bad. And I don't like when stupid stuff like that goes wrong because there's no reason for a playlist to cut off, like a pre-show playlist to cut off and there be dead air in the room. Like, there's just, that's rookie stuff.
And who was this person?
Just a fan.
Just went onto your thing.
Went onto my thing. I was like, what are you doing? Like, get off my laptop. He's like, is this your music? Are you the DJ? Are you playing this? And just like has his hands on my laptop. And I'm like, security. Like, what? Like, come help me. Like, this is ridiculous. And they're like, what's going on here? I'm like, can you get this man off of my laptop? Like bent over the barricade. Like,
some people just don't understand.
Where do you think that's like okay to like
touch anybody's things like that?
You're at a concert. You see stuff literally fenced. And you think it's okay to go in and touch the laptop that's right next to the console and the lighting console and all that stuff? No. My mind was blown by that.
That's mind-blowing. That's mind-blowing. Your story reminds me of the reason why I started putting a rope 3 feet around the sound stage is because people kept asking to charge their phones there.
I know. Oh my God, I remember.
And I'm like, do you not see the spaceship we have
I'm
here?
like, do you not see that we're running power out of Ben's window? Like, this cannot take your phone.
Underground through the windows.
Literally digging like a trench to lay the power cables that are literally plugged into your upstairs bedroom.
Men need to understand that women can do a lot.
They just need to keep to themselves mostly.
They can do jobs just as equal.
Yeah. And I have this shirt.
If not better, if they're better at it, then better. Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The gender.
Exactly.
The sex.
And I think a lot of female engineers are inherently better because we have to be so like focused on details and have every little thing so together. That like, because if I mess up one thing, it's like 100 people are on me. Like, you fucked this up. Sorry, I don't know if I know I've been already swearing, but.
Oh, I don't care.
Okay, cool.
Freedom of speech and expression is real, I think.
Yeah,
at least I think we forgot it is.
Yeah.
What?
Nothing. Yeah, so it's just, I don't know, people, like, it's as soon as I make one mistake, it's like, spotlight is on me for making that mistake. So I always am like extra conscious of every little detail. And I know a lot of other female engineers I know are exactly like that.
Do you think that's like a big reason why a lot of women tend to not go into certain fields just for the scrutiny, just to kind of avoid it? It's like a defense mechanism?
Yeah, and I've had points where I've been like, fuck this, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm so sick of just being like belittled and berated and yelled at for doing a good job. Like, I'm not a bad engineer, and I know that. Like, and I hated when people would tell me otherwise or like think that they could. And it got to me. Like, it's. I'm sure it will still get to me in the future. But I know a lot of like women, especially like younger women, because pretty much the only way into this is to stagehand, and especially if you're a woman, like they're not gonna let you just start mixing unless you have like really, really good credentials. But honestly, I have good credentials, and people have wanted me to start as a stagehand, which is honestly ridiculous.
Yeah, it's insulting.
It is insulting, and I don't know. People will like lowball me and be like, "Give you $43 for this overnight loadout." I'm like, I'm not ground stacking like subs. I didn't get into this to like do grunt work. I got into this to do sound, and it's important to pay your dues, and I paid my dues. I did a lot of stagehand work at the beginning. Pushed a lot of cases. I've hurt myself doing a lot of that kind of stuff.
Grunt work comes with it.
Yeah, exactly. Sure, it comes with it. But I think a lot of women get discouraged and are like, do I just have to put up with this forever? And if you're not really like, I need to move up like now, like I can do this. And if you're not like absolutely 100%, like I've only been able to move up because I'm like, I'm ready. Or like, what else needs to get, like I'm on top of
go-getter mentality.
Exactly. If you don't have that, like, it's unfortunately like you'll just get looked over to get like promoted or to get time on the console or stuff like that. So I know it definitely can discourage a lot of people, and especially a lot of women.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's even definitely discouraged me at plenty of times. Mm-hmm. Like just hearing, like getting a beer thrown at me, like that doesn't make me want to come to work again.
Right.
And I've been there all day, and it was a good, like ultimately everything worked. It was a good show. Like, it can be a bummer to, I don't know, just receive that sometimes.
So if you had to give advice to women going into this industry, what would you say?
Ignore everybody.
Ignore it all.
Ignore it all.
Move forward.
Move forward. Listen to there's going to be people that want to help you, and there's going to be people who are just going to try and like get into your head and tell you you're not shit because they don't think you know anything, but you know plenty.
And there might be something even worse, people who just want to get in your pants.
Yeah, that is also a real unfortunate part of the business. Like a lot of people are just like, hey, so what's good? Like, nothing. I'm here to work. Bye.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to make my money and I'm going to go home. And yeah, it's really discouraging in that way. And I really hope that, especially when we come back into it, the industry is never going to be the same again. And I really hope that we start to change that. And it comes more with the higher, like people in like bigger touring companies, people in like labels, people on like other music business. We just need to transition it into like, we need more women in those jobs because it's not fair that like you can get to a certain point and then just because like you won't like sleep with someone or like go out with somebody that like you can just be totally passed up for an opportunity, and it's fine. No one will like bat an eyelash at that.
It's crazy because it transcends almost every industry.
Yeah.
Obviously a huge problem in the film industry.
Yeah.
The music industry, it's been a problem. A lot of things have come out with labels. It's one of the biggest things that I always try to be aware of. Like, so many women come through here that I work with, and I always try to like, even just being single. I'm like, I never want to ever even try or do that just to keep it. I know what it's like to be a musician and artist, but I'm a man.
Yeah.
And I want the women that are doing it to have that ability to be free and have a place.
Exactly.
And not have to worry about some guy trying to creep on them. You know, I try to keep it as cordial as possible always, and just and keep it fair,
comfortable.
get comfortable.
Yeah, because it's annoying when you have to be like hyper aware of your work and you're very uncomfortable. And like I've gone through that plenty of times where I'm just like, oh, I hate the people I'm working with because they're weird and creepy. And like I don't know, like people have been like, I've been like, hey, can you take a picture of me like on this like tower that like, because I'm doing some cool shit. Like, and they'd be like, take your shirt off. And I'm like, oh my God, like shut up. Why would you say that? Like I'm working. Like you wouldn't say that to your buddy Tom. Like
You wouldn't say it to your mom.
you
or
wouldn't
your
say
sister,
that to your mom
your
or
daughter.
sister. So like, let me do my job. And I want a cool picture of me on top of the scoreboard tower. Okay.
Scoreboard.
I got to climb the scoreboard tower at NASCAR this year, and that was really cool.
Did they know you were doing that?
It's COVID.
COVID.
Nobody's around. That was the cool thing. I got to do 2 NASCAR gigs this year. Unfortunately, the rest of the season was canceled, or like they squashed the team to really, really small. So
Where was the biggest track you ever worked for NASCAR?
Probably Michigan. It's a 2-mile oval. Wow. Yeah. And I think it seats like 80,000 people.
Oh my God. Well, they're going like what, like 180, 200?
Like 170,
170?
Yeah.
Easy
The fastest
peasy.
I've seen is like 201. Wow. Yeah.
That's insane.
It's crazy.
And loud.
And it's cool. You get to see like cars that are on fire. Like, I've luckily never seen anybody get like really hurt, but my bosses have told me they've been around for races where people have passed, and that is like a weird concept to me.
Just watching someone die.
Yeah.
And everyone's like,
Yeah, and people are like, he died doing what he loved, and that's like I'm like, bro, it's not that deep. Like,
yeah.
he's in a car.
You also shouldn't have to die doing something you love
It's
either.
gotten way safer as a
Of
sport.
course.
Yeah.
It's
but-
Formula One and NASCAR have gotten people still
So
die
much
every
safer.
couple
Yeah, no, it
years,
definitely
but it's
happens.
so much safer.
Yeah. So that, is always just like the weirdest. It's the weirdest experience I think I've ever had.
Yeah.
Continually.
You probably didn't think when you were going to school for life, like, I'm going to do NASCAR.
Yeah, no, I never thought I would get into like the sports broadcast side of like audio ever. And then I got the job and I was like, well, pays my bills.
It's important though.
Yeah.
Like when you watch a football or basketball game, there's the guys with the recording the sound everywhere with those big I forget the name of them.
The shotgun mics.
Yeah, with,
Yeah.
with the like concave like
Oh yeah.
like umbrella
Yeah.
to deflect the sound. I've never even used one. I forget
Yeah,
the names of those things. The
yeah.
technical name for them, by the way. But yeah, the sound everywhere, and they're blending the players talking with the crowd,
And
with
the
the coach,
announcers.
with the announcers, with
And
the
it's
music,
all
the stadium,
wireless.
and it's all wireless.
It's a lot of RF coordination and stuff too. We have mics on like all the like turns of the on the wheel fence. We have like stereo pairs
Everywhere.
everywhere. Yeah, so you can hear them like woo, woo, woo.
How's that go?
Yeah. Yeah. My boss falls asleep to it now because he's been doing this for like 30 years. So he'll be,
Is his hearing okay?
yeah.
Well, he's just
Because he
been,
sits in the booth.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's chilling.
Man, so you said the music industry will never be the same. Say like the vaccine is foolproof and it works. What will be different about it, you think?
Well, first of all, with the vaccine, they want to do the vaccine passport thing. I don't know if you saw that. Live Nation wants to roll out this app basically where you have to have proof of being vaccinated to start coming to concerts again.
I heard a little bit about this,
Yeah.
but I don't know much about it.
I don't know too much about it beyond that, and I don't know if it's actually going to happen or if that's like legal for them to actually do, like to base admittance on
no idea.
vaccination status.
I don't think so.
But they own everything, so who knows?
They have a monopoly on it.
They really do.
Yeah.
Especially on my first tour, it was like I like joked it was like the now acquired by Live Nation tour because it was all these venues that had either just been acquired by Live Nation or were getting acquired by Live Nation in 3 weeks or yeah. Live Nation is the devil.
They're the Amazon of concerts.
They are the Amazon of concerts and they pay their people really badly and
That's how. When I hear that, I always go, well, "That's how they became that."
Yeah.
Like in order to own and be the most lucrative monopoly, you have to not pay people well.
yeah.
So
and
you can own it all.
Yeah, as a former Live Nation employee, I can attest that they are really horrible to their people.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they took our meals away. We used to have $5 meals or $3 meals. Then they made them $5 meals, and then they were like, "Nope, you just have to pay for your food now."
$5 meals, breaking the bank.
Breaking
Live
the
Nation.
bank, yeah.
How do you afford
They're
it?
like $3, no, $5, and then like a month later, they were like none.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Wow, cool. You obviously don't care."
When
Their
you
health insurance is garbage.
oh, they had health insurance though,
Yeah,
but
it
it's
was
not
like
good.
$400 for like a basic plan.
Mm.
I'm like, okay, but you pay people $14 an hour, like $15 an hour. They told me I was capped. I capped out. I'm very transparent about how much money I make. I think that's very important and very important for women in the music industry because I feel like a lot of they're like, don't talk about your salary. Like, yeah, and I just think that's stupid because that's just a way to manipulate people and not pay people as much. And I've found out at other jobs that people who had been working there way less time than me had been making way more money than me. So now I'm very like transparent. But they told me I capped out at the most sound engineers can make at $16.35.
Are you serious?
Yes.
That's
You can
a
get
joke.
a job at Aldi in the Chicagoland area for $14.50 an
Yeah.
hour. And I was like, I have a degree. I'm a front of house engineer. Your shows don't happen without me. And they were like,
Yeah.
nope, you're capped out.
Why?
Yeah.
What? Like, you should be getting $30-something an hour.
And pretty much everywhere else I work, that's about between 25 and 30 an
yeah.
hour.
I mean, you're making the show happen.
Literally.
Literally. Like,
Literally.
you
and
have
you're
to
a
be there.
billion-dollar corporation and you can't pay people more than that. They're like, yep, and you can get a 30-cent raise every year. At the end of the year. Not allowed to get it at all. Like, it was only eligible at the middle of the year.
That's terrible.
Yeah. And then we weren't allowed to talk about our salaries there. Talked to friends who had been working there longer than I had. They were making like $11. And we're like, what the like what?
How do people stay there? It's just they get stuck
Because
to it. They get stuck.
you want the opportunity to like House of Blues is a cool venue. Like you get a lot of cool acts coming through. Like I've mixed Hannibal Buress there. Like just crazy things shows I never thought I'd be able to just like sit on the side of the stage and do. Like some of my like I've done like Big Crit and Rhapsody and I've seen Weezer there. Like I've worked a Weezer show there. Like Juanes, like all these like because they have a lot of like private parties too and they'll rent bigger artists. Like they had the Jonas Brothers one time I was working. Like but people want those opportunities and they're willing to just like I guess, settle. And if you don't know what everybody else around you is making, and this is your first job as a stagehand, you're like, okay, well, I guess that sounds right because I'm getting this cool opportunity. When in reality, you're doing a lot of labor. You're unloading trucks. You are setting stuff up. You are climbing ladders. You are climbing truss. Like, you are doing a lot of dangerous physical labor. So you deserve to be compensated appropriately for that. But they just frame it in the aspect of like, you're getting this crazy opportunity to do something that nobody else gets to do, and
it's not incentive.
And I think that's like across the industry in general, people are very like shh, or like there's companies here in the city that I remember a lot of people I know who started like working around the same time we worked for that made you do 10 free shows. You had to work 10 free shows as an internship before they would hire you at I think like $12 an hour. 10 free shows. 10 nights. That's so like that's like thousands of dollars.
Yeah, that's a lot. It's even like $11 an hour. Like, I'm sure they could afford to pay an intern $11 an hour. That's not a big deal at all. That's nothing.
Yeah.
Yasmine, you're breaking my heart.
I know, it's sad.
No, it's good. People need to hear this.
Yeah, people need to hear this, and it needs to be uncovered because I'm just sick of people being like, well, if you do one show and it all goes well, we can pay you $14 regularly. And I'm like, what? Who? No. Like.
Yeah. It's like what we were saying earlier, how the engineer's kind of like the member of the band. Bo the dog is barking. He probably hears us. He's like, I want to see what's going on in
Hi,
here.
Bo.
Bo, we love you. They're kind of like the last member of the band, yet the bands will get their compensation. It could be thousands of dollars. If they're big enough, like the bigger bands you're naming, tens of thousands of dollars. And then you get your $12 an hour.
Exactly. And it's like, oh, how is that fair?
It's not fair.
It's not fair at all. And then on top of the $12 an hour, you're probably getting yelled at about something because someone was unhappy about something that is wildly subjective.
Yeah. Not your fault at
And
all.
not my fault. Like,
how many younger guys are doing the mansplaining and talking down to you or saying stuff to you? Or is it more like older guys?
It's more older guys. I'm lucky in the fact that most engineers I know from Chicago, I went to school with because we have a great live sound program. So, and one of like the only ones in the country. So when people go to school to do live sound here, they usually just stay in Chicago because there's a lot of venues and a lot of work. So I'm lucky enough that a lot of the younger people I have met or I know through school and kind of know that I do good work and like trust me and are like, and even some that like look up to me from when I was a teaching assistant. And I have a lot of people like younger engineers, like they're great. And like the younger male generation is like, gives me more hope. Sometimes it's like when people I don't know, like touring, I'll notice more. Sometimes they're like a little skeptical of me, but generally like are between like 20 to 35 is like mostly chill.
It's getting better.
It's getting better.
It's a learned societal thing.
Outside of my bubble, it's a little worse, but like since I'm lucky enough to kind of be here and be working with people I went to school with, a lot of people know my reputation and my work and don't really bother me like that. It's a lot of just like outside.
Well, also just being taught now and learning more about that's not okay. And that's like a lot of the older guys, that's not how they came up in the 70s,
exactly.
80s,
and
90s.
They've been doing this for like 35 years.
And there was no women doing it
none.
at all.
And all the ones who did do it, it was like totally okay to just like sexually harass and demean and just, it was like a completely different game. And yeah, so I'll get some older engineers that are like, oh, the sound girl can do sound. And I'm like, why am I here? Why would I be here if I couldn't do this? Like, I'm not here to waste your time. And I think that's what a lot, because as I said, you don't really need, what I learned from touring is you don't need crazy qualifications to work at a venue. And from working at a venue, like you don't need to know a lot. You can get hired as a stagehand and the monitor engineer can call out and it's your lucky day, dude. You're learning how to run monitors. But then I come in and I'm like, damn, you're learning how to do monitors today and it's going to ruin my show.
Deep breath.
I know. This stuff gets me worked up.
It's good to hear though. I mean, I don't have the same experiences you have, obviously, but I know a lot of what you're saying from knowing women in the industry and being in this industry and meeting women. And it's sad because it goes across things. in the film industry, being like
Yeah.
a woman who wants to be doing sound for film, or being the cameraman, the cinematographer.
Yeah.
A lot of that happens. That's always been a male.
Yeah, like
thing,
any
you know?
heavy tech job, they just don't believe that it's
Yeah.
possible for anybody else to do. And I hate that. Like, I hate just because, and I don't know. They're like, oh, you can't carry this. I'm like, yeah, I can. Like, I can carry my own equipment. I wouldn't be here if I couldn't.
Yeah, that's how you got there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you proved yourself already.
Exactly. So I'm just, it's tiring to have to prove yourself to new people all the time, but I guess it keeps me sharp.
Yeah.
And not lazy.
You know what? I've met a lot of guys. A lot of them can't carry anything.
That's what,
So-
exactly. And that's what I'm saying when I meant there's like, you don't have to have a bunch of qualifications. Because I know a lot of really shitty male sound engineers.
Who only got there because of their
Because
men.
it's like, yeah, my buddy is in a band, or I don't know, like I grew up with a 2-input like interface and I make bedroom pop. I'm like, cool, okay. I actually know the science behind this. Not that there's anything wrong. Like, you do not need to go to school to become a live sound engineer. That's not by any means what I'm trying to say. Because there's a ton, like the majority of people who do live sound did not go to school.
It didn't exist.
And it didn't exist
30
for a
years
long,
ago. Yeah.
for a very long time. And I think there's still only like 3 or 4 programs in the country. It's like Columbia, Belmont, Full Sail, and like another one, like another Full Sail-esque type college. So
It definitely can help.
yeah,
It definitely can
helps.
fast track the
Yeah,
knowledge,
exactly.
the experience, the know-how. Obviously, it gives you a leg up to have the degree,
Yeah,
but
and
it's
I
not
would-
necessary.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be doing all of this stuff this fast. I don't think if I didn't have the
No.
degree, there's no way.
No.
Because you have to just kind of like pay your dues just for longer. But like since I was learning a lot of this stuff at the same time that I was paying my dues, that it was just like, okay, like I'm ready for this next step because I've already learned about this next step, and I like know all of the theory, like the base theory behind this stuff. So I'm not having to like catch up or like learn new things on the job at the expense of a show.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
So like the earlier you can just start doing shows flawlessly or mostly flawlessly without beating, and that's another thing. Don't beat yourself up about stuff happening because stuff happens. You're
happens.
just dealing with literal air and space. Like anything can change, anything
Yeah.
can happen. So a lot of it is out of your control, but it's just how you deal with it.
Even electricity, voltage drops and goes
exactly.
up left and right.
Totally. Had
it
that
happens at
happen
DZ Fest
tons
all
of
the
times.
time.
Yep.
Well,
You hear the bass just like lower. I'm like turning this up.
it always happens in the
subs.
afternoon when
Yep.
everyone gets off work and
Yep.
the heat gets a little hotter
Yep.
by 3, 4.
And then by the end of the night, the subs are back.
Back by 10 sounds
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's man, it's not as complicated as it seems. Just like be a good person.
Yeah.
To all people.
And don't think you just know everything.
Don't think you know everything. Just because someone is not a man doing a traditional man job
Yeah.
doesn't mean
Exactly.
they can't do it.
And I'm not saying I know everything because I definitely don't. There's
course
times
not.
where I get to shows and I'm like, I have no.
We can't know anything. We're still
Yeah.
young. Like I'm older than you, but like you're 24 and 31. Like we got 20, 30, 40-year careers
Yeah.
to keep learning.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
It doesn't just, you don't know everything at a young age.
Yeah, and I feel like people will come to this and they'll be like, I've done this and this and I know everything. So you can't know anything because I know everything. It's like, okay, no.
That's a terrible headspace to be
Yeah,
at.
and
Thinking you know anything about everything, you
And
know?
that's how a lot of the older engineers act. And I'm like, and your hearing is damaged.
And mine's not.
Heavily. And mine's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any sensophonic earplugs or anything like
Yeah,
that?
I
You
do.
They're amazing.
Got fitted by our pals at Sensophonics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. Do you wear them when you mix at all?
I have -7s that I mix
-7s.
in sometimes, depending on what the show is. If I do monitors, absolutely.
Nice.
So for monitors, I'll definitely wear those. But for front of house, I need to kind of hear the
Mm-hmm.
space a little bit more.
Do you, when you get it like to an autopilot type of place,
Mm-hmm.
do you put them in then? Or do you always kind of just
It depends. I don't like to, because sometimes I don't like having to like take them in and out all the
Mm-hmm.
time during the show because I'm like, it's dark and they're small and
Do you have the rope connected in them?
$300. I don't have the rope connected. I gotta get that.
Everyone who
That's
gets
the
those, I always
legit-
recommend them, and people who haven't, they always end up losing one. I'm like, get them connected,
I
then you
remember
can just put them on
Steven
your...
lost his.
I know, that's kind of where I'm getting the story
Okay.
from. I told him, get the string. He's like, no. And I was like, dude, you could just drop it around your neck and
Yeah.
then put it back in. It's great.
That's
They're
actually smart.
clear silicone-looking
Yeah,
things. Like, you're going to
set
lose
it on
them.
the console, like just perfectly.
Yeah. It's easy to lose
But it is very easy to lose them.
translucent little objects in the dark place of a venue.
Exactly. And especially when they cost like $300, it's like you don't want to lose that.
They're amazing though.
They're
I still
so
have
good.
mine for almost 8 years, and
Yeah, I got mine. I think I got fitted for mine right before I started NASCAR because I was like, duh.
yeah.
We'll be sitting next to cars all summer.
Do you ever wear them when you play music with anybody?
Yeah.
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 Like,
I
do you
wear
wear
them
the
on
7s or
stage.
do you wear 15s?
I wear 15s on
15s
stage.
are the best for playing music because
Yeah.
they're so flat.
Yeah.
And that's like, especially if you have a drummer and a bass player
Yeah.
and with monitors, that's like great for
Yeah.
just maintaining your hearing.
Yeah, in a reinforced setting, I'll wear 15s, I guess, for playing. In a non-reinforced setting, I'll wear 7s because I have when I play saxophone, it's a lot of like bone conduction. So having earplugs kind of changes the way that feels for me. So it
Yeah.
kind of changes the way I perceive my timbre, and then I'll compensate for that like subconsciously. So yeah, that I'll wear 7s or nothing if I'm not in like a reinforced, like dangerous environment. Like if I'm just,
For those listening who don't know these random numbers we're shooting out, it's -7 decibels from your bass line. And that could give you an extra hour or two of hearing
yeah, safely.
protection. Yeah.
Yeah.
How long you been playing saxophone for?
And it's the 3rd grade.
I love when people say since the 2nd grade, it's
Yeah,
such a funny
I
old
know.
school statement.
It is a very old.
I've been shoveling since the 3rd grade.
Yeah.
And you're from
Playing
Boston.
saxophone since the 3rd grade. Yeah. It was
No
a suburb
accent.
of. I guess I was born in Dorchester, and then when I was 3 years old, we moved to the suburbs. And I don't have an accent because both my parents are immigrants and spoke Arabic and English and French most of my.
French. Where'd the French come from?
My dad went to French Catholic school
Oh,
when he was little.
in Morocco.
Yeah, and Morocco's second language is French.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes
so-
sense based on
and
some
my
history.
my mom's a French teacher. My dad went to French Catholic school. So
Do you know any French at all?
Yeah, I took French for 5 years.
I know some French. I could
What
laugh
do you
in
know?
French.
Yeah. Oui, oui.
My worst
Je
joke.
m'appelle Yasmine. I did quit. I dropped out of French for it, and I was like the shame of my family.
Oh, what about Arabic?
Arabic, I speak it. I speak Darja, which is like the Moroccan dialect of Arabic. So like classical Arabic, I can like pick up what people are saying, but speaking. And then I've recently transitioned into like learning writing because I never knew how to write. But
Complicated
it's-
looking.
Yeah, it's insanely hard. I'm still not very good at it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like what you recommended, I've been reading the Quran and looking. I have the English, the Arabic, and the
Yeah.
Edu version. So
Yeah.
it has all three.
And it has the calligraphy is like, even if you don't read it or speak Arabic, it's so beautiful.
I
to look
catch
at.
myself reading the English one, then looking over. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is crazy that
then-
these are languages.
Yeah, and
you
then
know?
getting used to reading from right to left instead of left to right.
Yeah, the book,
is like,
the beginning of the book is on the
on the
back
other
side.
side,
And
yeah.
I'm like, it's cool though. I've been really enjoying it, and seeing a lot of the similarities between that and the Holy Bible.
yeah.
It's really
They're
fascinating.
similar religions. A lot of people don't really
They
realize that
don't
they're
know it
very
because they
sim-
listen to things like the news and old people who have no idea what they're talking
Yeah.
about, who grew up in a Catholicism or Protestant
like,
world.
You believe in Allah. Yeah, that's translation for God.
God.
like,
Yeah, it has so many similarities in
It's-
like
yeah.
what you should and shouldn't do, how to be a
Exactly.
good person.
Yeah.
The 5 pillars of like one of them being to like help people who are less fortunate than you.
zakat.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't speak
Yeah.
Arabic, so I'm like every time I see an Arabic word, it's in English, but then when it's a 5 pillar, they'll have an Arabic word, and I always look it up to try to, but I can't pronounce them
Yeah.
properly. But I think that's very fascinating, and I think it's really interesting how much they bring up Abraham and Jesus,
Yeah.
and the tribes and Ishmael and Jacob. Like they bring up the stuff that happened in the 600 years before that.
We believe, or I'm gonna say we lightly. I'm not like very heavily religious anymore. I grew up going to Islamic like day school, like or Sunday school, and like learning the Quran and stuff. And my mom's more religious than my father, but my mom comes from a very, very religious family. So I like am spiritual, but I'm not like I don't pray 5 times a day. I don't like.
Are you ever going to go to Mecca, or have you?
I would go, but
Could I
yeah.
come with?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not
with-
Muslim, but
My grandparents have all gone now at this point. My mom's gearing up for her trip in the next couple of years.
what about Ramadan? Do you practice that at all? Or have you?
Not anymore. I used to when I was a kid, so I've done it before. And I think it's important. Like, I understand now, and now I think because also my job constraints, like, I can't not eat and drink water and work like a 20-hour day.
You drink water too?
Can't do water.
That's
Nothing.
dangerous.
Nothing. Yeah, it is. And I used to play like high school sports and fast at the same time.
And the premise behind that is to like kind of clear, like the best way I can get out of it, again, I don't know the language in the original translations, but like kind of to cleanse yourself, to like pay homage to like what is existence and Allah, which is God, and like kind of be grateful for what you have and like learn discipline.
It's a big empathy teacher.
Yeah.
And like what I was taught when I was a kid is that it's a practice we do to be empathetic with people who don't have as much as we do. Because if you understand like real hunger and real thirst and like that, I think you get on a level where you can empathize with people more.
So kind of like Christianity, the fundamentals of Christianity is also very wholesome. Jesus was a wholesome, pour, give back to people who are less fortunate than you, share, help each other, community.
And we
just
believe
like
in Jesus too.
Right. No,
the
they
only
talk about it in the
major
Quran.
difference between like Islam and Christianity, that like besides like the major one is we just don't believe in Jesus as the Son of God. We just believe in him as like a regular prophet, which scientifically makes more sense to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
It does.
Like-
it does. And just like Muhammad is just, he's just the prophet.
Yeah.
It's just so fascinating. And yeah, I haven't finished yet. I'm like a couple hundred pages in. But there was definitely a couple things that reminded me of the Bible where the words based on the culture back then definitely misconstrued. Like, I think I don't know why I know this, but I think it's like, I don't know if they're called verses and chapters, but
Surat. Yeah.
number 41 in the very beginning, it says like men, women equal, except men still have a power of degree over women. And that one I was like, ooh,
and there's a
that
lot
could
of,
be misinterpreted too much.
and that's why I'm not like heavily religious anymore.
Why does it say that? Do you know? Like why is that a thing in Islam? Because it is in Christianity too. Because so there was the classic verses in the Holy Bible, like women submit to your husband, for like in the Lord this is right. I'm paraphrasing here, but then everyone says that and they don't go to the next verse where it talks about men also do this unto women, but they're not the same. The words they use, it's a little bit more leaning towards men still.
I think it was written by men.
Well, yeah,
and it
of
was
course.
written to control women. And
But like, why are women okay with that? Like,
No,
but they're
definitely
not.
not.
But like, why are they submitting then like that in
it
Islam
depends
culture
what
and
your
Christian culture?
definition of submit, because a lot of people that think like women who wear hijabs are submitting to their husband, and that's actually just like an act of between you and God. Like you're choosing to be modest to yourself. Like it's not for like so nobody can see you. Like you just that's something between you and God.
Okay.
That's not like a my husband is making me cover up thing.
Right.
And that's like a very commonly they're like you should take that off, and you like people don't want to. That's like they.
Why is that a thing?
It's
Is
a
that
modest,
just
it's a modesty
a
practice.
Western thing people have been saying, like bestowing it upon them? Like, oh,
people
you're
are
doing
like,
it because your husband?
Yeah, exactly. They're like, you're controlled, because they think all women in Arab nations are like heavily controlled by men, which is kind of true. But
Some are, yeah.
some are definitely.
Saudi Arabia is very extreme with it,
Very
correct?
extreme. And spending like a fair amount of time in Morocco, like we're not that. Like I have like one aunt who covers, but like it's her decision. It's not because like my grandfather made her cover or her husband made her cover. Like she wanted to practice modesty, and that's how she's doing it. And that's how a lot of like Muslim women like just practice modesty.
And it kind of has levels of degrees. Like some completely cover like everything.
Yeah.
And they'll have like a thin veil.
Yeah.
And then some just wear like something on their head, and you can see their
Yeah.
face and a little more.
And it's a sign of respect too. Like you can't go into a mosque without covering. So if I go to the mosque with my mom, I'll cover. But there are some weird things that kind of bothered me too, which is why I've kind of moved away. But like if you're a woman and you have your period, you can't pray. You can't fast.
Right.
Yeah, you can't like you're unclean, and I just don't understand how if God would make you, they would make you unclean.
Right.
Like so that is something that's kind of bothered me, but
Or I was reading a verse that if your husband dies, you have to wait 3 months and 10 days. That's what I read.
for what?
Before you can like meet up with another man or like have sex again or marry someone. And I was like, maybe it's because they didn't have like science and fertility to tell DNA. So like they didn't want you to act like try to have a kid too soon to the husband, not know who's the father.
Yeah.
That's something I could come up with.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember anything like
don't
that.
know, yeah.
There's A lot of religions have some strange little.
I wasn't
little
allowed to go
things.
into the prayer at my dad's funeral because I had my period. Wow. Yeah.
But like, is that how would they know? You'd have to tell.
My mom knew because I was staying at her house, obviously.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
See, that's the type of stuff about religion. I'm like, I don't get it.
Exactly. So I'm
I
like,
get
I
the
can't go
wholesome
into the
stuff.
prayer for my own father's death, but
That's heavy.
yeah. So there's some things that I agree with and don't agree with.
I agree with the fundamental foundation
Yeah.
of like,
Exactly. Be a good person.
be a good person, help those who need it. Because if you're able to do that, clearly you got a leg up. Be kind to people. Be polite. Believe in that there's more to life than just ourselves and our selfish needs. You know.
Yeah, and I think growing up with that allows me to kind of take those practices apart from the religion and practice those just kind of like being a good person, giving back. Like it just allows me to practice a lot more of that, like wholesomely, I guess, without, I don't know, like defining it. So I think it still is like my guideline on being a good and like a good, just person, but it's not like my guide for everything I do, and I don't like follow it strictly. But,
Right.
like the teachings of doing Ramadan when I was younger, I didn't get it. I hated it. I was like, I just want to eat pizza with my friends. Like,
That's the point, I guess.
yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
the fact
And
that
my
you-
friends were like, your parents won't know if you do it. And I was like, the guilt will eat me alive. So I never would like cheat on my Ramadan. Like I would never eat anything like, and I think that's important. And it was an important experience for me, like to just be like, okay, it's like a good self-control and
Yeah.
excuse me, like it's a good discipline.
But the
practice.
guilt, even guilt, it can get a little too much.
Yeah.
Because I definitely felt a lot of guilt growing up, Christian with certain things.
Yeah.
Like the strict stuff, such as like, don't be of the world, the swearing, piercings, tattoos,
exactly.
certain clothing, sex before marriage, these big
Yeah.
things you're kind of like, you feel bad about all
Exactly,
of it.
and yeah,
And that's not, it gets a little too much. It could start to be a little psychological
Exactly.
damage going on.
Yeah.
You know, where you're just like stunting yourself.
You're like, wow, am I a bad person because I do all these perfectly normal things? Like,
perfectly normal things that millions of people do and it's
exactly.
hurting nobody.
And are fine.
They're
Yeah,
fine.
exactly.
Like the tattoo here is not
Yeah,
hurting anybody.
I know. I have to cover everything when I go home because I have like a full sleeve and leg tattoos now. So
Oh no.
yeah,
Can't wait to show your mom this podcast. I'm just kidding. I don't know your mom.
she knows I have. Yeah, she knows I have tattoos now, but she didn't for a while. But like when I go to Morocco, like I went summer 2019, and like around my grandparents, aunts, uncles, wearing long sleeves in the desert.
Do you dress up differently there? Yeah.
Yeah, generally there, like it's not as strict where you're like there's still people who wear hijab, there's still people who are very modest, but it's a very much more modest dressing culture. Like I wouldn't wear like jean cut off shorts or like I wear like my rule is like elbows and knees, or like if I'm gonna wear like a tank top, it has to be thick. But now I can't wear a tank top because I have tattoos, and everybody's like, I go to the beach and everybody's like stare, like glaring at me because women don't really have men don't really have tattoos there, and especially women don't have tattoos there, and they don't have sleeves of tattoos or
Right.
like
The beach,
tattoos
are
on their
you
legs.
allowed to be in a bathing suit to go
Yeah.
swimming? Yeah.
Yeah. And especially with the younger generation, I go to like this like beach club with my cousins, and it's a lot of like kids our age who are like first generation in other, like a lot of like European kids whose parents are all both from Morocco, because it's very common for like Moroccan immigrants to like move elsewhere and then come back and spend the whole summer. So like my mom is one of 8 and my dad is one of 5. So
A lot of cousins.
a
And aunts and
lot of
uncles
cousins.
and-
I have like 60 something cousins. Yeah.
I feel you. I
aunts and
have a
uncles.
lot too.
But everybody comes back for the summer and it's really cool. Like, and a lot of their friends from childhood come back with their kids. So a lot of people, like a lot of my family and aunts and uncles have moved to Europe
Oh, okay.
and it's like live in Europe for the year. But then everybody has their like house in Morocco that they come back to and spend their 3 months. My mom literally is a high school teacher specifically, so she can go back as soon as school is done
Yeah.
and stay
From
like,
Boston?
for 3 months. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah.
To have that going back and
Yeah.
forth. That's like a really neat culture to be able to go back and forth to. Because America's like, it's a great
cool.
country as far as its freedom and literally
Freedom.
like, well, I mean,
Yeah.
look what we're doing right
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
There's some places we could not
Yeah,
do this.
definitely
You could
true.
not be talking about your religion
Yeah.
this way, certain places. And we can here. But I know what you mean.
Yeah.
It gets a little I think because of that, it gets a little crazy.
Yeah.
Because there's like so much freedom
Yeah.
that it just gets wacky.
Yeah, and
considering
it's
the
like
internet.
vaguely regulated, but like not really. I don't know. But yeah, getting to like experience that culture and like live there for the summer, like we did that every summer of my childhood.
How come men don't feel the need to cover up or aren't expressed in their culture to cover up as much as women are, do you think?
I just don't.
You don't know?
No, I don't really know. I just don't think it was ever expected of them, so they don't have to. I guess men generally just dress more. The male body is less sexualized in general
Yeah,
than a
in all
female body,
cultures.
in all cultures,
Yeah.
all around the world. So I feel like people are not that concerned about a little man thigh or chest or something like that. But people want to hypersexualize women's bodies. So if you show your arms or your
Yeah.
knees, it's too much.
I wonder like what percentage of women in the Muslim world, like you're saying, like they want to do it, is that learned and taught, or like it's hard to decipher if you genuinely want to do it or if it's all you've ever
Yeah,
known.
and there's some families where it's like expected of you, and it's definitely more in the Middle East. That's like more commonplace, and in North Africa, less commonplace.
Okay, it's not as
Yeah,
as strict.
yeah, exactly. We're definitely a lot less.
The
strict.
epicenter is Saudi Arabia, and it kind of
Yeah.
loosens as
Yeah.
it goes out.
The-
Have you been anywhere over there in the Middle
I
East?
haven't.
No.
And I've spent a lot of time this year kind of separating North Africa from the Middle East because culturally we're kind of similar, but honestly not really that much.
No,
It's
that's
really
so
just
far.
it's
So
really just
different.
religion, and it's since there's no separation of church and state in most Muslim countries. Like Morocco is a functioning monarchy and all of its law is Islamic law. So that's really the only thing that connects us to the Middle
Yeah.
East is that we are all governed similarly
Yeah,
through Islamic law and through the teachings of the Quran.
because Morocco to like Palestine is far, thousands
yeah,
of miles.
exactly. We're closer to Europe, we're like closer to Spain, closer to the rest of Africa. We're more culturally similar to like a lot of other African countries.
That's why actually I did 23andMe, and I'm like 1.5% Moroccan because I'm Spanish, and
Yeah,
the
exactly.
Iberian
Gibraltar.
Peninsula, you're right there.
Yeah.
The Moors came over, they occupied it. It was Islamic for a while. It was very interesting to see that, and obviously everyone's a small percentage sub-Saharan African,
Yeah.
but to be a little bit Moroccan, I was like, this makes sense to have that based on the fact I'm Spanish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine keeps changing.
Yours keeps
Yeah, I
changing?
looked at it again yesterday. It just tells me every time that I'm more Moroccan than I thought the last time.
Oh, you did it. So what
Yeah.
percentage Moroccan?
I did Ancestry, but I'm 96% North African, 2% Somalian, and 2% Mali.
All that makes sense,
Yeah,
being
I'm
from
just full African.
Africa.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like people think Africa, they think like you must be black.
Always. People
Yeah.
are like, "You're not African." I'm like, "I'm very," and I've been
Very African.
yeah, and I know I'm not black, and like I think there's a lot of like the difference between that, and there's like a big debate on whether or not North Africans are black, or because there are black North Africans,
Of course.
absolutely. And then there's a lot of in between, and like the genetics in North. Like my grandma is like white with red hair, but
Because the French?
no, like but she's like full Moroccan. I think probably because of the
Right.
French and
Gotta be
occupation.
something like
Yeah,
that.
it's something
World
like
War
that.
One, two.
But you can have families that everybody looks different.
Yeah.
Like completely different features. My dad is a little bit darker skin and my mom is a little bit lighter skin. And me and my brother are somewhere in the middle of that. But yeah, it's just a lot of identity. I feel like North Africans are often forgotten because we're pretty much our own very unique race. And people just assume, oh, you're from Africa, like, but you're not black. And it's like, no, because my ancestry doesn't have the experience of like being part of the like Atlantic slave trade and like all of
Well, also you're
trauma that
separated
comes with
by
that.
by the desert, the
Yeah.
Sahara Desert from sub-Saharan Africa. Which
yeah,
is
but there
completely
is some
thing.
parts
Sure,
of North
of
Africa
course.
culturally, like Sudan is considered North African culture-wise, and that
It's a big continent.
Yeah, it's a big
huge.
continent.
It's old.
Yeah.
The oldest as far as humans are considered.
and
It's
there's a lot
complicated.
of trauma behind it,
Oh my God.
and it's really
If anybody ever wonders why, like, what's wrong with Africa? Why is always all these issues? Like, look into the history of
Yeah,
Africa, and
it's
you'll
like,
understand why it's been kicked down
Exactly.
so much.
All of it has been colonized.
Oh,
The
yeah.
entire continent has been colonized since like damn near the beginning of time.
The reason why malaria is such a problem there is because of the Dutch people
Mm-hmm.
pushing up the tribes to places they normally wouldn't be, by rivers they normally wouldn't be by, where
We're-
mosquitoes are more
Exactly.
prominent.
We're always the first people that they want to test vaccines on or test drugs on, and we're always the last people to get relief and help and stuff, and the last people to get development, and the last, like, we don't have water sometimes at my house in Morocco. Like, I got back last time, and I literally got home from the airport, and I was like, I want to take a shower. Halfway through the shower, water just stopped.
Oh my God.
It's just like there's so much wealth elsewhere in the world, and all these countries. Like Morocco only got its independence from France in the 50s, and my grandfather fought heavily in that war, and like just how like much they've been able to grow and expand just since the 50s is crazy. But they're still so far behind like the rest of the developed world because it's wildly undeveloped as a country.
Would you say it's like a
Resource-wise.
second world country?
We're like transitioning. When I was a kid, it was definitely like very third world country, to be honest. I don't know if that's like an okay thing to say anymore.
I mean, who would know
Yeah.
better than the person that's
Yeah.
there?
Very undeveloped, lots of people living in like slums, shacks, no running water, no
Sounds third
clean
world
water.
to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and then there's a lot of like small pockets of wealth. And now we're going through this thing where like they're building a lot of like apartment buildings, and there's a lot of new construction and a lot of like new stuff kind of replacing all these like old historic villas. Like my mom grew up in a house that had one bedroom with 8 siblings and her parents. Like
That's crazy. I always thought that it was crazy in this house with my
Mm-hmm.
grandparents with 11 kids, which is a lot, but this house is not a
Yeah,
one-bedroom
and there's
house.
some- yeah.
It's not that big for 13 people, but it's certainly not a one-bedroom
Yeah.
house, and that just goes to show, like, the levels of poverty.
Exactly.
The levels of wealth. Like I always say, if you make over, it's like $30,000 or $35,000 a year, you're in the top 1% of the planet, which is like most Americans.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like if I moved there and like when we go there, and especially after my parents kind of got more established here and started like making a lot of money, or not a lot, like enough to get by in America, but there it's a ton of money. There we're like rich. It's weird.
Wow.
It's a very weird thing.
So between Morocco upbringing, Boston upbringing, Chicago, you have a wide range of what the idea of wealth is: hard work,
Yeah.
poor, struggle, man-woman dynamic.
Yeah.
You have a lot of that.
Yeah.
Do you think that's why, like, it's like why you've done what you've done by the age of 24?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I feel like anybody who's grown up as a child of immigrants can attest. Like, you need to work hard. Like, I feel an obligation to work hard and make something of myself because my parents sacrificed so much to come here and went through so much to like build a life for us to where we're like financially stable now and like we can have like a house. Like my family finally now owns a house. Unfortunately, it came out of my father having to pass away, but like my mom finally, after being here since like the mid 80s and working, she came here on a scholarship from Disney. An essay writing contest. They have an essay writing contest for all the countries that Epcot represents. So, and then that's how they hire people. But it's actually just a super like predatory hiring practice because they go to all these countries and are like, here, you have the opportunity to write this essay and get to come work in Disney for a year, and you get your visa and whatever. And my mom did that, and she won, and she got like a 6-week vacation in North Dakota and Minnesota.
Wow.
That was her first introduction.
Dakota.
Yeah, that was the first place my mom went. The first place my dad came was Snow, Utah. I'd never seen snow in his life.
I bet.
Never.
Morocco
Yeah,
doesn't
never
get
had
snow.
seen snow in his life. But they both worked jobs where they made $40 a week.
Oh my God.
And like they didn't see their family for years because if they left the country, they wouldn't be allowed back in. And my mom was not a like legal U.S. citizen until after she gave birth to me. Like,
What made them settle in Boston?
they had a friend. So my dad, they met each other in college on a bus, which is really sweet. They met each other in college in Morocco, and then my mom won the contest after undergrad and moved here for the year. And then my dad was like, all right, I'm going to come be with you, and enrolled in another college program in Utah, not really knowing his geography. My mom's in Orlando. My dad's in Utah.
Romantic.
Romantic. He did 6 months of college there, called it a day and moved to Florida. And he started working at Disney too at MGM, making burgers. Wow. Both of them lived in like a small apartment.
That's
Orlando,
amazing.
Both working at Disney, making almost nothing. And one of their friends from work had a friend in Boston. My parents, very good friend for a good deal of time, helped raise me as well. He had traveled the world and met one of their friends in Morocco, and then basically my parents met him, and he lived in Boston in Dorchester. And my parents wanted to go back to school, and so they both got accepted into UMass Boston, moved up to Boston, kind of started working. My mom worked in an Italian restaurant as a manager, and my dad went to med school and was doing med school. And then they had me, and we lived in a one-bedroom apartment in Dorchester.
How far is that from like downtown Boston?
Like 15, 20 minutes.
It's kind of like me to Chicago, or a little bit closer.
It's...
Like without traffic,
it's
I'm
actually
about
like,
15, 20 minutes to the loop.
It's
No traffic.
It's like this.
Okay.
Boston's a lot smaller of a
Right.
city. And Dorchester at the time was probably like one of the worst neighborhoods. And it's heavily gentrified now. But it was not like a great neighborhood. There was a lot of crime. My parents tell me this story about how someone threw this fish in the street, in the middle of the street, and it smelled, and it just rotted for days, and it just smelled. And my dad went and poured hella chemicals on it to get it to like disintegrate. And just, hearing the stories.
Did your father finish med school? Mm-hmm. So he was a doctor?
Yeah, so he was a doctor for a while.
What practice? Like what?
Just general medicine.
Okay.
And then he moved up into like more hospital management. So he managed an oncology floor at Jordan Hospital in Plymouth.
Did your mom finish graduate school?
Mm-hmm.
What'd she study?
Linguistics. So my mom's a language teacher, a foreign language teacher. Teaches
Master's or PhD?
Masters.
Master's.
She's working on her PhD right now. So
That's amazing.
go mama. I know.
Your
but
parents are inspirational.
Yeah, very much inspirational.
That's a wild story in
yeah,
itself.
so I feel like I have to do something to live up to that. Like I don't want to just be like, meh.
I gotta play saxophone and
Yeah.
mix Nascar,
And
baby.
the fact that I have parents that allowed me to do that, like
Yeah.
coming from that background and were like actually supportive of that was big, very big for
That
me.
is That is better than getting a PhD or an
Yeah,
MD.
yeah.
Like that freedom of expression and finding your way. You can't put a price tag
Exactly.
on that. It's your life. It's your existence forever.
Exactly. And having the fact that they like nurtured that and allowed me, like they didn't have money to like rent a saxophone, but like they made it work. Like they made it work to send me to private lessons. Like they made a lot of stuff work for me to be able to like do what I do, and I'm eternally thankful for that. Like and just
Yeah.
have the support. Like my mom taking, like, I remember my Berkeley audition fee was $150 and like we couldn't afford it. And we were so stressed, and my mom like pulled through and found a way to pay for it. And like the fact that she did that and like came with me and like that was like a big, like a very nervous day of my life. Like, and like the fact that she was there and supportive of me through that was like really, really special to me. And I really want to make them proud. So
And you did lessons at Berkeley?
I did Berkeley online this semester because I won Berkeley has like a high school jazz festival in February of every year, and my high school would always compete in that. We were like big in the jazz competition circuit, my high school was. So I played saxophone, and by my senior year I was doing solos and stuff. So I won like a scholarship to their online program.
Oh, okay.
Either their summer camp or online program.
So you and your mom just winning things.
Winning things. Yeah. So
And man, so
I did that before college, like in between graduating high school and college. I didn't get into Berkeley, and that like broke my entire heart. That was like all I wanted to do. But I'm
for music?
Yeah, but I'm honestly so thankful I didn't, because I'd be in a dumb amount of debt. And
that's a prestigious music school.
yeah, but also they don't have a live sound program, so I don't know what I would be doing. Like
You
I
wouldn't
wanted
be
to,
telling your story right now, I'll tell you that.
I wanted to go into. They have like an MP&E, which is music production and engineering program that I was interested in, but it was all men, and they were like, it's very like you had to audition to get into that program, and it's intense. So yeah, I don't know. I'm thankful for the way my path panned out.
It's a fascinating path.
Yeah, it's a very interesting. I really did, and when I came to Columbia for the first time, I had planned on immediately transferring. Like I was like, I'm gonna grind this year, I'm gonna practice, I'm gonna work, and then I'm gonna
Go back to Berkeley.
I'm gonna try and get back to there. And like having the experience of doing the summer courses, like in between high school and college, was really cool, because or it just made me want that more, I guess, because I was like, I like this environment. But it gave me a leg up when I got to Columbia too, because we were in the first semester of classes, and I was like, I'm signal flow.
I know my
Let's
signal
get
flow.
it. Yeah.
What was it
Cables.
like being Moroccan growing up in a rough neighborhood in Boston?
I didn't I wasn't a conscious adult when I was in that neighborhood, so I don't really remember much, but we moved to a very affluent white suburb, like when I was 4. So I grew up,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so I formally grew up in a very affluent white suburb, very poor, or not very, but definitely, for
Lower
a while.
working class?
Yeah, and because I guess what happened, so my dad was a doctor. We made plenty for a while, and then when I was 7 years old, he had a stroke that left him half paralyzed for the rest of his life. So he never worked again after that. So after that, then we had to deal with a lot of medical bills. My mom was still in school.
That's terrible.
So, yeah,
All
it was
that
great for
hard
a
work.
while. Yeah, I mean, not that it wasn't great for his entire life, and I miss him so much, but yeah, that happened, and that really kind of set them back a lot.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't know, to get an MD or a PhD, first of all, it could take
Years.
10
Yeah.
years. Then you do your residency. You're also hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt.
Yeah.
And you usually don't
And
make
they
good
was,
money until you're
exactly.
in your mid-30s.
And their parents weren't paying for their colleges because they're
No.
there's no way.
No, unless you're unless you're just like any industry, unless you're also the top at it, you're not going to be that well-off cliche doctor, professor type until you're in your 40s.
Yeah.
And then that happened to your dad. So it's
and he had his stroke at 40.
exactly. So at the prime of really doing well
Yeah.
financially and in his career, that
Yeah,
was,
and had a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old, and so
that's rough.
yeah, that was a very rough part of my life and a hard thing that I guess I dealt with. But it made me want to, I don't know, again, make them proud and be able to help them out, because having to see my parents stressed about paying medical bills, or my mom literally spending all day at the hospital and then going to work and then spending all day at the hospital, or she was a translator as an extra job for money. Seeing them do everything they could to make it happen.
How old were you when that happened?
7.
So if my math is correct, that's right around 9/11-ish.
A couple years after.
Couple years
I was
after.
5 years old when 9/11 happened.
Was that hard?
Yeah. Yeah.
Being in
People-
that area, in that time, white
Yeah.
area.
Yeah. Muslim. My parents both had very thick accents at that time.
I can't even
Yeah.
imagine.
Someone wrote on, my dad would do his pre-shift meeting in the office, and someone wrote, "Go back to where you came from," or "We're going to
he's a
get you
doctor.
for this." Yeah.
A
And
doctor.
he has nurses writing this on
The most highest esteem and educated people you could ever be is a doctor, and they're still being treated that way.
Yeah.
So, man, your parents being peer
Yeah.
persecuted, and then
And-
you become something you love to do, and just because you're a woman, you're getting, it's a different type of persecution,
yeah.
but it's still this bull crap
Yeah.
you're getting.
And
you know?
it stunted my growth. My parents stopped teaching me Arabic.
Oh, they try to do a simulate
Yeah,
fitting in
exactly,
more,
because
more American.
At the beginning, when I was a baby, they were teaching me Arabic because that's what they primarily spoke in the house. And
It's also what you do. It's
yeah,
your culture. It's your history.
our
It's your
culture,
life.
and yeah. So that so after that, stopped teaching me Arabic. My brother never learned Arabic. I didn't start picking it back up again until I got to later high school, college, and especially in college, I really started to identify more and kind of realize my culture. And a lot of growing up where I grew up did kind of whitewash me, and I didn't realize that till I moved here. Just how much of a bubble my town was 28,000 people, a very, very small town in southern Massachusetts, where people have been there since the literal beginning of
400
colonization. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. My mom lives in Plymouth now.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Right on
small
the rock? She lives on the
small
rock?
The rock is this big.
She just chills on the rock.
She chills on the rock.
You know what you just said is I'm convinced, I've never heard these words from my dad. I'm convinced why he never taught me Spanish.
Yeah.
He grew up south side Chicago during the race riots of the 60s. He was born in
Yeah.
1954. And I look at his old elementary school photos and stuff. He's the only Mexican kid there.
Yeah.
Because back then it was all Polish and Irish guys on the south side.
Yeah.
All white, and he's the only one. And I think to fit in, he had to try to lose that
Exactly.
culture and fit in. And when he came out to the suburbs in the 80s, still he's a very dark Mexican man too. So treated terribly. I remember as a kid, this one story, we went to a hotel in Indiana to stay the night, and they denied him.
Wow.
because he was Mexican.
That's-
Well, they didn't say that, but
Yeah,
they
but,
literally
yeah.
said, like, you can't stay here. And it's stuff like that why I think he, like, doesn't even really want to speak Spanish.
Yeah.
Like, he just kind of keeps it away
Hidden.
because it's, I mean, he's 66, so, like,
Yeah.
the first 25 years, the most important parts of your life that shape you was just beaten down.
Exactly.
Watched Martin Luther King walk right in front of his house on Western Avenue on 55th and Western and Gage Park, like things like
Wow.
that. Saw the school buses with the black kids getting hit with bats and stuff by the white kids, and he'd have to take his siblings through the alleyways to get to school, and he was the oldest. Like, it's things like
Yeah.
that he had to kind of like, I got to be as American as I can be.
Yeah.
I got to be as white as I can possibly
and I
be.
definitely felt that. Like, I would never wear my hair natural. I have like very like tight natural curls. Like I have very big hair now.
You?
Right now,
Big
I
hair? I didn't
right
know.
Now, yeah. Right now, it's a
Your
little-
hair is like boom. I love
Yeah,
it.
thank you.
No, it's powerful.
Yeah,
I
this
like that
is-
by hair. It's cool.
I'm a little bit lazy, so I blew it out, but I haven't washed it in like 3 weeks.
I just wait. You say 3?
I said that. Yeah, I definitely just said 3 weeks, and that's the truth. But I never wanted to wear my hair natural. I never wanted to speak Arabic. I didn't want to tell people I was fasting. I didn't want to. My dad's name's Muhammad. Like,
Never heard of that word.
Yeah.
That name. No.
yeah. So it was just
just
yeah,
kidding.
a lot of me. A lot
Obviously.
of assimilating, and I noticed it a lot in my brother too. Like he definitely, especially since he never had the initial was learning Arabic and culture, he kind of has it a little bit more suppressed than I do. And I
He's
especially-
younger?
yeah.
Okay.
And especially since I've moved out here and I've seen there's actual diversity in the world. Like there's other people because it was me. Like it was me. We had like maybe 3 black kids at my school, and me and a couple one Mexican family, 1 or 2 Asian families, and then just
That's it.
white people.
Diversity is
Boundless white people.
one thing I'm grateful for is the diversity around here. Like
Yeah.
my high school was like a third Hispanic,
Yeah.
a third like white, mostly like a lot of
Yeah.
Polish, but white, a third, maybe like 20% black, and then a bunch of Middle Eastern because there was a mosque
Yeah.
in Bridgeview.
Yeah.
And so like tons of,
I grew
there
up
wasn't
with
really
no
anybody.
other Muslim kids.
So yes,
None.
I was around it a lot. So like I didn't get the whole, like even as a kid, I remember being like 3rd, 4th grade, and there was this kid, Ahmad, and his name was Ahmad, his middle name was Ahmad, his last name was Ahmad. And
Ahmad.
you're
I love that.
Everyone made fun of him, but I didn't because I got made fun of a lot too when I was a kid. So I was
Yeah.
like, I just didn't see the point of making fun of me. I found it interesting, like, oh, you're like this other cult. It was just so
Yeah.
interesting, and being around it a lot, it was nice. But yeah, being the only person around a bunch of white people is probably completely a different ballgame.
Exactly. And obviously when I was younger I was more religious and just it was more expected of me to go to Sunday school and take my parents would take me out for religious holidays, and I would fast and go to school during Ramadan
And that rotates, right? It's based on the lunar calendar.
Lunar calendar. So it basically hops back every 2 weeks, give or take 2 weeks every year. So the craziest thing is, this is my favorite, or not my favorite, but this is the funniest thing to me, is when people around now say Happy Ramadan, around Christmas time and all that stuff. Because when we were children, Ramadan was in December, and it was it fell through December. And now it's in April.
It changes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it just moves back a little bit every
Yeah.
year. But now it's in April. But I will still hear people to this day be Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Ramadan, Merry Christmas, and it's
Everyone's just trying to. The Merry Christmas thing's great because it's I didn't know I was a pagan. I thought I was a
Yeah.
Christian. We're not gonna go there. Yeah, I love the. I appreciate the effort of PC culture, but I despise the execution of it.
yeah.
Do you know
I'll
what I'm
agree with
saying?
that, yeah.
Yeah, we should be more aware of people's cultures, ideologies, religions, backgrounds, gender, sex, beliefs, what they identify as. But the overcompensation for it by rich white people,
Yeah,
it's disturbing.
nauseating, yeah. And they always go about it the wrong way. It's we changed our pronouns in our Instagram bio, and it's cool. Well, what are you actually doing to help black trans women who are literally dying?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Nothing.
No?
Nothing. You're not like, put your money where your mouth is. There's so much mutual aid for people who are disenfranchised who really, really need it. And putting some stuff in your bio, although it's like cool to like show solidarity and normalize that, like you also need to do the work elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
No, you're right. You're right. It's when I first like doing DZ Fest, there was a point I had to decide like, and everyone asked like, where's it gonna go? What's you gonna do? And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe we could like do something good out of it because I'm never gonna make like it's a DIY thing, so I'm not gonna make money off it, and I don't really want to, and that's why I think it works because the money thing is not.
Yeah.
No one.
It's not like
it's
a
not
cost
about
prohibitive thing for
No.
people to go to, and you don't want it to be that.
No, I don't want it to be that. So I was like, what can we do with it? And I was like, maybe we can like donate it to musicians and artists who need it, who don't have even this opportunity to even be at a place like this.
Yeah.
They're so far down on the low income scale.
Yeah.
So when I called the Chicago Public Schools to talk to them about it, they when they described the way their music programs and our programs ran, I'm not going to go into detail about it, but it's sad.
Yeah.
It's pathetic. It's depressing.
Underfunded.
Underfunding is not. Yeah, exactly. It's not even.
The least.
It's disturbing, and it's honestly, it was so bad. I almost cried, and I was like, I know what I want to do. I want to like all the money I can, whatever, like after paying for whatever it costs, like donate it to the Children's First Fund, because it's like
I remember you did Winterfest like that last year.
Yeah, that was for the National Honor Society for my high school.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's like I have the gear, I have the knowledge, I have the experience, and I have the web of people, and we can like. As struggling as you have been this last year, struggling
it's
as
not
anyone,
even close.
It's not even close to some kid who is on the south side of Chicago and can't get anything in life and just grows up in this terrible position. And he's a really good musician, or she is, or they are, and they just can't even get out to play their music, their rock, jazz, blues, their hip hop, whatever it is they're doing. They don't even have a place to do it.
Yeah.
So it's like how I have this place to do it. I've been blessed with this space, this yard. And I've always utilized this yard to the best of my abilities, obviously. And I wanted to like share that type of love and passion for music and art because money is great and it can help you have less stress and not worry about things and give you time to think and do more. So I've been grateful to grow up in a working class family and have a yard. And I just want to like give back and help people that don't have that opportunity. And based along what we were talking about with Islam and Christianity, like give back to those that you can.
Exactly.
How much money you think you need or you don't have, there's always people who have less.
Way less, yeah.
Way less.
Way less.
And they're 5 miles away.
Yeah.
10 miles, they're right here. And it's just it just sucks. Like that's the thing that hurt me the most this year was not the sessions and the bands and all that. It was the fact that I couldn't do DZ Fest to like try to raise money to help people. Yeah. Like that just like bothered me a lot, you know?
This year sucks.
This year sucks a lot. You know, and people always keep saying like 2021's gonna be great because of like
it's not.
Biden and like
oh my God.
Biden.
Don't get me started on that. But yeah. I don't know. It's just weird. It's cool to see how much regular people have stepped up to do the job of local government this year. And like through mutual aid, that's been, I guess, the most positive thing I've seen through this is people like you are like doing more for like disenfranchised people than the literal government.
It's
sad.
Not supposed to be that way.
And it's really not supposed to be that way. And like, yeah.
I just think, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm just like, why aren't wealthier people doing more?
Exactly.
I'm not wealthy.
Like, why are, like... I was donating my unemployment to like mutual aid this year, and like I know tons of people who were doing the exact same thing, and it's like we don't have any. Like, why are we circulating the same money when there's billionaires who could solve this with like a 16th, a tiny little sliver of their wealth could solve major problems, like
or the government properly allocating the funds
exactly
instead of building more high rises along Lakeshore Drive.
Yeah, or not allowing people to become multi-billionaires and trillionaires. It's just not.
Or if they are going to get to that, you got to raise that tax.
Exactly.
The taxing
That's
scales
what I mean.
up to it.
Like,
it
there's
does.
just so many loopholes that allow people to like once you reach a certain level of wealth, just be able to multiply it like a zombie.
Money breeds money.
Exactly.
So more money, you get more out of it.
And if you like let the systems that allow people to just keep multiplying their stuff without doing anything for people who need it. And then you just have people who have no empathy or no like concept of what it's like for the rest of the world. And then you just have people with not a lot of means, helping people with no means. And I guess, the most positive thing to come out of it like I've seen this year was a lot of like really cool mutual aid and people doing a lot of working together and like being each other's networks and resources and
hearing each other out, learning more about people they don't maybe know about or don't agree with.
Exactly. And starting to kind of mend some wounds and just kind of realizing that like, hey, if the government isn't going to help us, at least we can help each other. And
$600 is not helping you.
Nothing.
You're going to live forever.
I didn't get my first one, but I just got my $600 and I feel stimulated.
I am so stimulated.
I know, but I'm still waiting for that first 1200.
Why is this taking? It's been like 9 months. What happened?
I don't know. I have the same accountant as all my friends who got a direct deposit.
I got mine the second they said you're getting it, I looked and it was there. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, never got mine.
What?
Yeah, and I'm a mixed earner too, which for unemployment is a nightmare. So I had one W-2 job where I made a small fraction of my money. Or I'm transparent. I made $5,000 off this one W-2 job, and then I made like $40,000 doing other stuff, 1099. And for unemployment, they only count your W-2 job for your.
Oh my
So I make $102 a week off my unemployment
instead of like the 400 or 500, 600, whatever.
Exactly what it would be if they counted all my income. But when it comes to taxes, all of it's taxable.
Oh yeah, they'll take it.
But so I'm paying in with all of my income to do that, but they're only considering the small part that's W-2 that is tax or like that is already taxed. So it's
a mess.
It's a nightmare of a system. And it took me like 8 weeks to get that. And then,
On a lighter note, let's talk about art.
Oh.
So is this watercolor? This is like a mixed media,
It's a mixed medium, yeah. And it's a little bit 3D. I don't know if you can tell through the camera, but
that's a 3D camera. So wear your 3D glasses. I'm kidding. Wear your 3D glasses to look at this. And you made this. Yasmine made this.
I did make this. I've been getting a lot more into... I've always loved painting since I was like a kid. And never like seriously, and I've never been like, I'm a visual artist. But through quarantine, I've had a lot of time on my hands, and this is kind of a peaceful thing for me. I was spending a lot of time at home in August, at my mom's house in Boston or in Plymouth.
On the Rock.
On the Rock. I was spending a lot of time on the Rock, and my aunt actually got her visa approved. My aunt, this is a crazy story. My aunt applied... this was 15 years ago, applied for a U.S. citizenship, and my parents agreed to sponsor her, whatever, never got it. 15 years go by, and my dad was the one who had originally sponsored her because my mom wasn't a U.S. citizen yet. So years go by, my dad has passed at this point, and she gets a letter that her, citizenship has been approved. So she had been through a divorce, now has 2 kids. This was before any of that. She had just graduated college and was like, I'm going to move to the U.S. So it got approved last year, and they moved in December of 2019. So my aunt and her 2 kids live with my mom now, which is great for my mom because she but I feel better knowing that there's someone at the house with my mom.
Right, of course.
Now. So my aunt and her 2 kids have recently moved here. So I spend a lot of time with my little cousins, and they're 8 and 11. So they're pretty young, and they're into their phones naturally, as most 8 and 11-year-olds are. But when they're with me, I want to really foster creativity and art with them. So I found an old watercolor set of mine in the basement of my mom's house, and I said, let's do this. And then we did it for a couple of days. We sit on the porch and do that. And then when I came back here, I was like, why don't I just keep painting?
You should.
Yeah. So I've been...
How long have you just been dabbling here and there? Or you do it a lot?
I do it quite a bit. I have a little watercolor set that flips open like a little laptop kind of. So I can put the paper on it, and it has this pen that is loaded with water already. So I can literally just sit and watch TV and make a little postcard, watercolor postcards.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's just a nice way for me to not be on my phone and keep my hands busy and
keep your mind stimulated.
Exactly.
And just express.
Exactly.
Expression.
And this particular piece, I feel funny saying that.
You know what? You probably can relate to this knowing your background history. Isn't it hard to be an artist, like say you're an
Yeah.
artist when you are like of the working
I hate
class.
being like, I'm a creative.
I know.
Because that's like just very
You know
played
who
out at
got
this
me
point.
into finally convincing myself? It took till I was 30 years old. Is Trevor. He's like, you're an artist. I'm like,
Yeah.
he's like, I know, but like,
Trevor's great for the gas up like that.
I know. He's like, you're an artist. I'm like, but like, I got like,
I know. Yeah.
I know how to
I've
like
had this
hammer really well.
conversation
You know,
with him
am I
like
an
100
artist?
times.
I can like cut wood well. Like, am I an artist? I don't know what I am.
Yeah.
I just like I like to express myself in every way I can, but I can't be like, oh, I'm an artist and I express. It's just
Yeah, exactly. It's just not very natural to me.
it should be.
Yeah.
It should be. It's just so hard for some
Especially since
reason
I've
when you're
literally-
like,
it's weird because we both completely like dedicated our lives to the arts and we're just like find it very hard to be like, I'm an artist.
I teach in the arts program.
Yeah.
And it's just like, but am I though?
I make literally my entire income off of the arts.
Me too. And it's just kind of like, what is wrong with
we
us?
both live in DIY spaces that we run like literally like
You're
our
in it.
entire lives are this and it's just hard to say it.
I don't know if that's a good or bad thing.
Yeah, but this one I kind of just let it go.
I like it. I like it a
I
lot.
just kind of felt some shapes and
The colors are very soothing.
yeah.
It's like it's dabbling on that ultra light side of things. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I never got the whole like pink, yellow, like light blue being so like
Easter.
no, just like oh, that's too like
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't like
like-
that color. It's too we're gonna get real classic. That's too like girly or too
Yeah,
feminine,
corny or- yeah.
and I'm like I
No,
love
it's
all
cool.
colors
I do
equally.
too.
I don't
Actually,
discriminate
blue is
against
my
colors.
favorite color if you can't tell. I'm definitely partial to blue.
I mean, I love blue and I love green, but like I think all colors are
Yeah,
great.
exactly. And I think they all have a space here, and I wanted to represent that, I guess. And I just like color and texture and different shapes, and it's a lot of like organic brush movements. As like the squiggles is just like literally. I like to see how it behaves, like the paint behaves with the water, and just kind of leave it as a layer. But it's a lot of like organic brush strokes and layers and.
Does it come? Do you have a predetermined thought, or does it come in the moment?
Nope,
and you
completely comes in the moment.
you just let it guide the next decision to each one?
I literally
or-
just will start with like lines. I do a lot of like kind of stuff like that's a lot of like weird, like warped geometric. So I'll kind of just like start with the shape and then I'll outline the shape with other shapes. And then once I get like a full like color of the background, then I'll start adding like other mediums as layers. So there's acrylic paint on there, there's spray paint, there's puff paint. Yeah, and then I'll just kind of like layer those. So like these squares are spray paint. All the like little dots and stuff are all puff paint.
Mixed media is such.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite like outlets. It's just like a bunch of stuff together.
Yeah. So
I think that's kind of like a metaphor for your life and my life.
Yeah.
Kind of doing a lot of
exactly,
different things.
a lot of different things. So this is like because music can be exhausting to me sometimes too when it's like all I do. Like I'll want to drive home in silence a lot of the time, or like want to come home and not listen to music.
Or put on a podcast, just
Yeah.
hear people talk and not music.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and just not because you know this when you're listening to music, like it's hard to turn off the analyzation part of it. So it just feels like my brain is doing a ton of just unnecessary work, and just so it's nice to kind of like express myself in a way that isn't music.
I 100% agree. I don't paint. I've always wanted to, and something I want to get into. But my favorite other outlet would be like poetry and like building stuff.
Yeah,
You know, like a project of like
yeah,
like
you build some crazy stuff. That cabin is crazy. The DZ itself is a crazy structure. The fact that you build 2 stages in your backyard every year is
dismantle them nicely and put them right back.
It literally, that's so cool.
Thank you. It's I always want to be a carpenter, so this is
Mm-hmm.
my way of like doing it still without having it be my career
Entire
and like
life.
breaking my back. You
Yeah.
know, if I get to do a couple times
Exactly,
a year
you get
and
to have fun with it.
still hurt my fingers and
Yeah.
get splinters. It's
Build stuff, and then you get to see it done. Like you have a literal whole cabin you built. That's crazy to me.
it's something I want to do as a business someday, is like
Yeah.
build small cabins for people,
Yeah.
because I love architecture too. I love designing
People
stuff.
are about the tiny house life too. So
They are. It's not
cash
good
out,
timing.
Cash out.
For those listening and watching,
If you want a tiny house, hit Ben up.
let's do it. Let's do it. I got a nice nail gun now. I used to do
I
everything by hand.
remember when you got the nail gun.
Oh, that changed
I
my
remember the
life.
summer you got the
I
nail
was
gun.
so stubborn stubborn about it. I couldn't concede to like the power tools.
Yeah.
I used to do everything by hand. Like
That's crazy.
like cutting the wood with a bow saw and doing hammers, just bam, bam, bam. Like that's how I grew up doing a lot of construction work with my family and uncles. And now that I have the power tools, oh my God, is it so much easier and better? But I'm always like, if I'm not like doing it with my hands,
You're
you know?
doing it with your hands still.
I know. It's just so convenient. It's
gotta
so
make
much
the
safer too, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like statistically, to hit like 1,000 nails in without hitting anything is so much harder than like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
But ear protection, please, when using power tools, people.
Absolutely.
That's where some
Protect your
serious
ears in
damage.
general. Things you don't think that are going to hurt your ears can really hurt your ears forever.
Yeah, the last episode I did was really great about informing people on that. It was really fun to be able to talk to an actual audiologist about it.
Awesome.
I hope people listen to that to learn.
Yeah. Listen to that.
Please. Man, I'm going to use the restroom real
about
quick,
it.
but you can keep talking about anything you want. I'll be back in
All right.
15, 20 seconds.
Okay, cool. I'm going to keep talking about stuff. I'm going to also check my phone. I got a lot of text messages. Wow, it's already 1 o'clock. That's crazy to me. We've been talking forever. Oh, you can hear my stomach now? Can hear the stomach. If anybody who works in touring is listening to this in the next week, go to www.theleeinitiative.com. They are doing a program called the Touring Professionals Kitchen. The chefs at Girl and the Goat and Grant Oshotz of Alinea in Royster are giving free meals on Tuesdays and Thursdays to all touring and music industry people and food service workers. And they're fantastic. And it's like my favorite program that I've found that is literally by musicians for musicians. And it just feels really nice to be looked after in that aspect. And so if you're watching this, check it out. Hi, Bo!
Bo's gonna come in.
Hi, Bo! It's been so long.
Oh, Bo.
Hi, Bo Sif.
He's like, oh my God.
How are you recovering from your
protecting his tail
surgery?
from hitting it. Oh, he's doing well.
He's doing well.
He's doing well. He's still getting by. Good
Aw,
job, Bo.
good
All
job,
right, Bo.
Bubby.
Great. All right, get your fur out of my studio.
All right, bye, Bo. Great to see you.
I'm going down. Love you. Man,
I love Bo.
Bo's the best dog on this
Best
planet.
dog.
And I'm so glad that he's doing better.
Best dog 2020,
Man.
2021, 2019, 2018. Forever. Best dog.
Breather.
Yes. I was just telling the people that there's a lovely program by this company or this non-for-profit called the Lee Initiative that is giving meals to touring and music professionals from like really good restaurants. So
Really?
Girl and the Goat and the Alinea guy are doing it. So every Tuesday and Thursday. Check it out.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Where can they find this information?
TheLeeinitiative.com. www.theleeinitiative.com.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's called the Touring Professionals Kitchen.
That's
the
really
program.
nice of them.
Yeah, it's really cool. So I'm going to go pick up my Girl and the Goat meal later tonight.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm happy that people have some heart to do things like
Yeah.
that who can afford to.
Exactly. And
Right.
it's going on through the rest of January. So if you're watching this, do it.
Now, also, the federal government, if you're watching this or listening to it, which you probably are, NSA,
Do more.
please help out your citizens who've been giving you tax money their whole life
Yeah.
and generations of tax money. Please help them out too.
Mixed earners are people too. That's my PSA.
My biggest qualm with existence in society is people thinking that like creative people in the arts are kind of just like this thing you don't need. And I'm like, what do you do?
Yeah, what do you do for
fun?
fun?
Always.
What are you tweeting about missing? Shows.
Culinary arts? It's
Food.
literally called culinary arts.
Yeah.
Music, it's an art. And people who run music, there's producers, engineers, there's
A
servers.
whole 12 million people work behind the scenes
Yeah.
in the United States.
Yeah.
And just live music.
And everyone loves music.
And everybody loves shows, and everybody is so
Film.
quick to be like, can't wait till this is over so I can go to a show. It's like, I can't wait till this is over so I can get a paycheck.
Yeah.
Like,
No, everybody, every everyday person, anybody who has a job, a nice job somewhere, or they go here, or they work in a warehouse, or they build stuff, or they're an accountant. They
All walks
they
of
have
life.
extracurricular activities they
Exactly.
do outside of their work. They love watching TV, that's an art form because there's
Yeah.
actors, there's directors, people who write that.
Exactly.
It's extensive, and it's just so frustrating when even in school, like in colleges and even high schools, like we were talking about CPS, like the funding for it for some reason, obviously math
always
and
the
arts
first thing to get
or math and
cut.
science are really important.
Yeah.
But your sanity and emotional
Music
expression
is
is
just
just
that
as
stuff.
important.
And math and science is part of music.
It is.
So if
Yeah.
you want to teach math and science, you can also teach music that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
How many notes in an octave?
yeah, or physics
math.
of sound waves. How many notes in an octave? Harmonics, that's a big thing in live sound. Like you deal, like the way I was taught EQ is through harmonics, and harmonics being just multiples of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's math.
Learning that helps so much with
Literally,
EQ.
yeah.
I was like, oh, that's how I get rid of the ringing
Yeah,
in the
if you
floor
want to get
tom.
rid of something, double the frequency and then have it.
Mm-hmm.
And there you go.
I know. Unfortunately, for those who don't know what we're talking about, they're like, what are they talking about?
I just do additive EQ on everything. I just do additive EQ on 90 hertz.
EQ is
make it go
equalization. For those who don't know, it's something you do to change the harmonic structure or the timbre of a tone that is existing
Yeah.
in the elastic media, that medium that's air.
It's what we use to manipulate sound, basically.
Yep.
And
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Everything.
It's like our in live sound. I think it's your biggest instrument. Like
It's our
your
salt and
biggest
pepper.
tool. It's really our salt and pepper. And a lot of people don't understand the difference between studio EQ and live EQ. If I can go back to that for a second.
Go back to it.
Go back to that. Yeah, I don't know. That's really all I had.
That's
That's it. Don't do additive EQ in live sound unless it's like maybe anything below 100, and don't do a lot.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, subtractive EQ only for live sound, my guys and girls especially,
Man.
and gender non-conforming people, because I think that's really important, and I really want to make space for more gender non-conforming people in live sound too, because I know plenty of them that also don't really get the respect they deserve. So
Yeah. No, you're
very
right.
important to acknowledge.
That's probably been like the biggest thing to be more aware of the last 5 years, but I'd say the last 2 or 3
and I try to
years.
be like more aware of that in like the men versus women conversation, because it's not just men versus women.
It's not. I mean, that's like,
It's men versus everyone.
yeah. Hey, I'm trying.
I'm sorry. Not you, Ben. You know I'm not talking about you.
That's one of the hardest things about being like, I said this is always my joke that I said in the first one, like the perceived white man, because I'm like half Mexican, but like everyone thinks I'm a white man or
Yeah.
Jewish. I get Jewish
Yeah.
a lot, although I am 7%.
You're 7%.
According
Jewish.
to 23andMe.
Wow. Until it changes. I've had mine
I
changed
know.
5 times. My first one told me I was 20% Italian.
Really?
I had a whole identity crisis over it.
Whoa.
I was like,
That's a weird
I was like,
change.
I'm Italian?
To go back to
drinking
96%.
marinara out of a mug the next day. And then like it updated and it was like, no, you're just Moroccan. And I was like, all right, that's what I thought.
My bad. Ancestry.com, get your act together.
Right, yeah. But I've noticed actually, all my white friends who have done Ancestry.com have never had an update. Trevor's had an update once, and he's who I keep tab. He's my white friend with
I've never had an
Ancestry
update
DNA.
on 23andMe.
All my African, Black, Mexican friends have all had updates. All my African friends have had like 4 or 5
I
updates.
don't know what that means or what that is.
Well, what it is because DNA testing is financially inaccessible to people of lower income, and unfortunately, we live in a system where
I see what
people
you're
of
saying.
lower income
They're not
are
doing it. They don't have
mostly
enough
black
to
and
pull
brown.
from.
Exactly.
I got it. Okay.
So there's not enough data pool. So I guess as they collect more data, it changes. But like, I remember I was looking at Trevor's, and it was like you settled in. Like your family settled in Kentucky and
Super
moved
specific?
super specific, and mine just tells me 96% North African on my 5th update.
You settled in Kentucky where you
Doesn't-
married your cousin.
Literally, it doesn't even tell me I'm Moroccan. It's like Northern Africa. I'm like, okay.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
That's just
It's
not
like
a
your
couple
family-
million square miles.
Literally, it's like your family moved from Scotland to Kentucky and branched out to this. I was like, what? They like, you really got your money's worth out of this. I just had an identity crisis.
Wow. I didn't even think about that, but you're
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
correct.
no,
That's I
it's-
forget that's how they get the information. Like 23andMe pulls it from like I think something like 8 or 10 million people.
Yeah.
And yeah, it cost
DNA testing
money.
is a luxury. Like
it was
it's
$200
expensive.
because I got the health one too,
Oh,
which was
I kind of want to
awesome.
do that.
It was great.
Yeah, but I
Well-
know I'm going to be a little scared.
I was not scared. I'm just glad that it said I had like zero. I mean, obviously it's not 100%, but it's helpful to like, kind of give you a guide to what you probably should be aware of. Like my grandparents both had diabetes on both sides.
Yeah.
And my mom and dad do, and my sister have it. So it's I knew like I have a good chance, and I looked it up, and it told me 38% chance of getting type 2 diabetes. And that I was already like, all right, I'm already on a health kick. Now I'm like real specific.
Yeah,
like,
you look fantastic, by the way, since the last time I saw you.
Since that last time when you were 40 pounds heavier.
I didn't. No, that's not what I.
It's okay, I'm a man. You can talk about it this way. We don't have feelings. We're not supposed to express
Well,
what we're supposed
Ben.
We're supposed to be sexist, and we're supposed to be mean, and we're supposed to be aggressive,
and
that's
Slim
it.
Jims.
Don't feel anything. Don't talk about how you
Slim
feel.
Jims and drink beer.
Die of a heart attack at 50 and call it a day. Like
and
that's
you
all
died doing what you loved.
Yes.
God damn it.
That's another thing. Like,
I hate that shit.
man, like of course, in the tier of struggles and pain, of course. But what leads to a lot of struggle and pain is men being told their whole life, specifically strong, big white men, is don't feel anything, don't express anything. Like, what do you think that leads to?
Yeah,
it leads to shooting yourself in the head more than anybody else does.
It's true.
It leads to hanging yourself. It leads to beating people. It leads to alcoholism. It leads to suicides. It leads to problems.
Poor self-worth. And
it leads to like not like seeing a woman mixing and having this. You have to say something for some reason.
Because otherwise you haven't asserted dominance and you can't create this. That's how you create the space for yourself to feel safe, but it's just actually harmful.
Yeah.
Because it's a trauma response. You're responding to people telling you not to do something and like to take away your space. So you want to create your own space. And unfortunately, sometimes it's done in a really toxic way because it's a power. Like you want to create your own space by taking power away from somebody else.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
It's not fair. Again, I'm not being like, oh, woe is my life. That's
I know.
not what I'm doing. Because I've always been comfortable with expressing myself. But knowing a lot of men and seeing that, hearing their like, not knowing how to get it out.
Yeah, they never like,
you know, just like
observing.
Be okay with like crying.
Yeah.
Like I was watching this movie the other day, Beautiful Boy, and I was like 7:30 in the morning. I'm just like crying watching it because I'm just like I know so many people that have drug and mental illnesses, and like this was such a good representation of it. And I was just like, why like, and I wasn't even ashamed if someone came down and saw me crying. I'm like, what's up, dude? You gotta watch this movie. Like, you should not be ashamed of. Like, I'm still me.
Yeah,
like, I'm still a human being. Like, I don't.
You feel things. It'd be weird if you didn't.
It's a problem.
You'd be like low key a sociopath if you didn't.
It leads to a lot of serious issues.
Exactly.
Not expressing how you feel and not being okay with like it's okay to be wrong.
Yeah.
It's okay to apologize. It's okay to forgive.
It's okay to listen to other people.
Listen to other people. Learn from them. There's 7.8 billion of us. Like,
it's okay that there's other experiences that aren't yours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can be wrong.
And you can learn from them too.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're absolutely correct. Yeah. But sorry. Thank you for what you said. Like so like the 23andMe, I was like, I'm gonna be really healthy and avoid diabetes and no more sugar. But there's a couple other things like no Parkinson's or very likely not to have it, Alzheimer's, dementia, the things that really scare me.
You know how to take care of your body to avoid things now because of that.
Yeah, like if you have the two variants for dementia, maybe do a lot more nootropics, exercise more, read more, do Sudoku, do math problems, like do things that kind of stimulate the mind.
Imagine
more.
if we could give that to everybody, if that was accessible for everybody.
We should.
Exactly.
The government
and it should
give that to all its citizens who pay taxes.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of money, but guess what would be better for society? People are healthier, more aware, and smarter. Education leads to more longevity and a better society.
Preventative health care is the answer. But since we have so many like blockages to get health insurance, you can't get it with a pre-existing condition, you can't stay on your parents' health insurance, you can't do this, that, whatever.
You know what, too? Jewel Osco? I don't want to walk into Jewel Osco and see all the chips and candies. The first thing I see in the little breezeway between the two doors, it's just lined with chips and candy. I'm like, why? It should be vegetables and pistachios that are unsalted.
Yeah, it's like cheaper for them to produce that stuff. And Unfortunately,
grab it.
And I'm so sick of people. I'm on food stamps right now, and I'm so sick of people shaming people for what they buy on food stamps. It's absolutely ridiculous.
You should buy wild, fresh Alaskan salmon.
Yeah, exactly.
That's healthy for you.
But I'm also sick of people shaming people for buying junk food because, like, if you only have so much money to eat, like, you're gonna buy the stuff that's the cheapest.
Yeah.
And that is food that is like heavily processed.
It shouldn't be though.
Exactly.
The nice stuff, the wild Alaskan salmon, that should be cheaper.
Exactly, but if you have $20 to spend, are you going to spend it on one piece of salmon or are you going to spend it on 12 frozen dinners?
Right. No, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, the reason why I have this like I have this unnecessary disdain for Aldi, not for no reason. No, not for a bad reason. It's because I grew up on it.
Yeah.
So I have this like I just think of growing up only eating Aldi because we were working class and it was just Aldi and it was the cheapest. This is the 90s. So like not what Aldi is now. Not like Trader Joe's and how they own that. It's not like that. It was back then it was like where the lowest of lowest income people went was Aldi.
Yeah.
And growing up there eating that or drinking that 96-cent fat-free skim milk.
Yeah.
Like the
Friendly Farms.
Like the worst quality and it was just it was normalized to me. I didn't know any better, but then I got a little bit older and I got like my first paycheck from like Subway, my first job, and I went somewhere else and I was like, brand name, high quality stuff exists. I was like, wait, what?
It's crazy how weird food is. Like, I don't know how food is regulated and how they make it like healthy food is really only accessible to wealthy people.
Mm-hmm.
And
I didn't start buying healthier food until I started working at ISU.
Yeah.
Like it took me 28 years to have remotely healthy food.
Yeah.
And
it's easy. There's some ways to eat very healthy for not a lot of money. And I was taught that because of like my parents didn't grow up eating processed food. They grew up going to the market every day. And like my dad grew up on a lemon farm.
Okay.
Like everything was grown or picked up from the market. It was meat, fruits, vegetables, grains.
That's amazing.
You don't eat like, so my parents taught me how to like go to the discount like produce stores and pick the best stuff.
So you've always been kind of
go home, chop it up, freeze stuff. Freezers are your best friend if you don't have a lot of money and you want to eat healthy. You buy produce that's like kind of almost at its end. You prep it, you can cook it, freeze it, and you have healthy food and that was like a very important thing for me to see and learn growing up. But it's I don't know. I've had to like compromise a lot of my budget, especially since I have to eat on this new diet now for the Crohn's, and that I have to eat a lot of like very, very like hyper healthy or specialty healthy food. So I do have to shop at Whole Foods.
Yeah.
And I'm just sick of people like when I take out the blue card to swipe, it's like I still need to eat. Like I still need like
yeah.
Why are you gonna shame me?
You're a human being. You have this health.
Yeah.
Problem.
And people are like, you don't need it if you can shop at Whole Foods. It's like, yes, I do. Like, I'm not gonna adhere to the system that just because I don't have it works here, so I'm gonna use it here.
I love Whole Foods, but not because of Whole Foods. I love the concept of Whole Foods. Like I love going there and just looking at like the healthiest, thinnest, wealthiest people.
It's the worst people.
It's like the worst best people watching because it's so easy and cliche. You're just like, Yep. Of course.
People walking around with their like glass of wine. The Lincoln Park one. I'm like,
oh, Lincoln Park, the one on Sheffield and Fulton.
No,
the one
the
by
Kingsbury
DePaul?
one.
Oh, okay.
The big one.
Okay. Whole Foods.
Yeah.
I love the concept of it.
I love the
if
concept,
the price
but
went
I
down
hate
about
Jeff
30,
Bezos.
40, 50%.
And they can do it. They can do it because
Oh, yeah.
Amazon owns it, but he's a scumbag and won't do it. And I hate to say that I spend my money there, but
I don't go there
place,
often.
It's the only place to find decent stuff. At this point, Jewel in like Mariano's, it's when I buy my groceries there, it's almost the same price. So it's like I'm just gonna go to Whole Foods.
Yeah, the thing is, a big misconception about like we were talking about just a couple minutes ago about healthy food is if you're educated and smart about it, like vegetables are not that much money.
No, they're not, and it's
really not.
But we're not like,
and they're so good for you.
There's no general education about like eating that kind of like healthy food, and vegetables aren't really like centralized. It's seen as like a hip thing now to like eat kale, but it's like kale is actually really cheap. You can go to Aldi and buy like a pound bag of chopped kale and you can put it in smoothies. You can make salad and that's $2.99. You have a whole week of chopped kale. That's not expensive. I'll get like carrots, I'll chop them up, prep them maybe like roast them in a little sauce or something, freeze them. And then whenever I need vegetables, I have frozen vegetables that I can just thaw out, and it's a meal. So
You just got to be smart about it. You
it's a
can't
lot
just
of-
be like, I'm buy this,
and you need to have time. It's a time luxury thing too. Right now, I have a ton of time to do that kind of stuff. When I'm working,
And it's just you. You're shopping for just
and
you.
I'm just shopping for myself.
Yeah. Trying to be creative with like 3-4 kids and your husband
Yeah.
and whatnot, or vice versa. Your wife's working and
Yeah.
you lost your job and now you got to do it. It's like, that's another thing, dude. Dude, I just called you dude. I never
dude.
call anybody dude. It's like
call
not a
me
common thing I do though. Anyway, a lot of men are not educated on food because your whole life you're taught like go to work and the woman will
your
figure
woman
it
will
out.
feed you, and it's like I know so many men who just dump the brick of ground beef and
They suck at
and
that
throw the
stuff.
pasta sauce in it, and they're like, yeah, the pasta sauce is gonna season the beef, and I'm like, are you out of your mind?
It should be taught throughout elementary, junior
Yeah.
high schools, nutrition and dieting and
Girls
food.
take home ec, boys take wood shop. Like
Yeah.
it's like shut up.
I took home ec and cooking in high school. I was the only guy. And I took it my senior year, and it was all like freshman and sophomore girls.
Exactly.
I was the only guy, and I already had a lot of skill in the kitchen because my mom. But I would always make stuff. We'd have like, okay, you have to make, the best was you had to make cookies. I made cookies the way that I've been making cookies my whole life, and everyone knows I make cookies. And my teacher, she threw them out because I didn't make it the way she wanted to.
What?
She threw them out in front of everybody.
That's not what food is about, and that's a horrible lesson to teach. That if it's not exactly what the recipe is, you throw it out. Like,
Yeah.
that's a really horrible like.
I think she was just mad because my cookies are better than hers.
Yeah, what a hater. But like, I don't know. I feel like there's just so much weird stigma about food, and like the way the system is built is inherently just against disenfranchised Black and brown people. Always, there's no education. It's mostly food deserts in places where Black and brown people live. So you're just kind of subject to what's around you. And if you don't also have the education and the luxury of the education and the time, or I guess the privilege of education and having extra time because you're not working like 1,000 jobs to
And the proximity to the better
and the
places.
proximity to the good stuff. If you can only go to this one corner store that has like mid produce, I'm gonna buy frozen food.
Right.
I'm gonna buy frozen wings. Like
Or fast food.
yeah, because you have to feed a
dollar
lot of
menu.
people. Exactly.
Dollar
Or you're
menu.
gonna and it's really sad. That, yeah, it just bums me out. That,
It's a bad system.
and
It's a
yeah,
bad
and we get
system.
rid of like 50% of usable food per year. Like 80% of produce is deemed unusable by the way it looks and just goes to the trash. And that's,
We need gardens.
yeah. And we have people starving, which is like the most upsetting thing to me is that people are starving in places like Whole Foods or restaurants I've worked in will throw away the food instead of like, I've gotten in trouble for taking a container of chicken nuggets or chicken tenders from House of Blues. Because no one's allowed to eat
They're
them.
gonna throw it out
Yeah, they're
instead.
going to throw it out instead. I was like, you're going to throw it out. I'm in
Why
college.
not donate it?
Right. I'm like, I'm in college. Like, I will eat 20 chicken tenders. Like,
Yeah. Donate it to the employees.
give it to, yeah.
To be part of like the contract, like you after everything's been like the food's been used,
Yeah.
and the night's done, the deeds are done. Like as an employee, you're allowed to
Yeah.
have the food.
And they've always
for
been
free.
really weird about that. Like, we were allowed to sometimes, but like, it'd be like food that sat out for 8 hours. And nobody that's unsafe. But yeah, we'd get in trouble sometimes if we did it while it was still like good or hot or like even like a couple hours after it'd been served for like buffet or like for traveling artists or something. Like, it's just people got to eat, man. Ugh, it drives me crazy.
We got to do something about it.
I hate the culture here around food too. Like, I hate it in like I grew up in such like a food centric culture. Like, that's like in like because obviously it's very like my family is very like heavily Islamic. That like food is what brings us together. We don't get together to drink. We don't get together to like smoke or anything. Like, family gatherings are all based around food. Everything you do in your family is based around food.
Alcohol is not. It's not allowed, right? Or is it not really a
It's
thing?
not allowed, but you can still buy it there. And
Okay.
people still definitely drink. Like, a lot of my uncles drink.
Okay,
there.
I didn't know.
Yeah. It's, not, like, you can't buy it during Ramadan. Is like the big one.
Right.
In those countries, but it's still available.
I need to learn more about and try more Middle Eastern food.
Yeah.
Because a lot of there's a lot of restaurants around here. This place called the Nile. I love the Nile. Oh, you know about it?
Yeah, you've
everybody-
taken me there.
Oh, it's good. And the guy there, I started going there so much, he started knowing me. Whenever I'd wait in line, he'd always give me free falafels. And then he was so nice that he serves pita bread there, but his is like made. The stuff they make it in like certain quantities, and it's quick. It's a restaurant, and he's like, if you buy get the hummus here, but then go around the corner, there's this awesome bakery, and they make the pita fresh there. It's better. So at his own restaurant, he's telling me like, get this here, and then get that there, and then combine them. I was like, and I did it.
That's the culture. You want to make sure like your way of expressing like love is by feeding people,
feeding them, and like it's. It's about community.
And
like
sharing food.
Clearly, it's right around the corner. They probably not even know them, but it's like, they're a bakery. They focus on pita. You can get a dozen pitas for like $2, and they're warm, steaming in the bag.
It's not about the money.
Still.
It's about making sure you have the best like experience. I don't know.
And I bet you that guy is like, when you go to his bakery, he goes, get this here, and then go to the Nile and use their hummus.
And then if you go to their house, they got. Oh, I didn't do much, and there's a whole table of food and tea and the whole thing. And that's how I grew up. And like whenever we had people over, that's what happened. Or whenever we went over to like other Moroccan families and stuff like that, that's how it went. Like, and I don't know, just like being here and like going through high school where like I'd get yelled at for eating in class, or like I'd get yelled at, like even in college, I'd get yelled at for eating in class. I'm like, who cares? Like I have to eat. Like,
were you in the sound like studios and stuff?
In the live room, it was okay.
Oh, okay.
The live room was okay.
I didn't know that.
But like even in like gen eds, like I remember one time I used to have like a Wednesday that was like fully stacked. I would TA a class in the morning, and then I had 2 afternoon classes, and then I had a night class. So it was like I had a half hour for break between 11:50 and 12:30, and then every other time I had 10 minutes between.
A lot of cafecito.
A lot of cafecito. But so one time I was at cafecito. The lines are long, especially during like lunch and 6:30 dinner hour, because it's right there. So I went, and I was late, like 10 minutes late for class, and he was like, "Why are you late?" And I was like, "Because I needed to eat dinner." He's like, "I don't care that you needed to eat dinner. You need to be in class." I was like, "Sorry, I've been in this building all day. Like, I'm gonna eat dinner. Like, why are you on me about that?" That's just such a weird and like petty thing. I feel like that people are on here.
Different cultures,
and it's just like not professional to like eat in front of clients, or like I don't know, like at work, like it's only professional to take your lunch break behind, like in the backstage area. Like you can't. I don't like.
It's so interesting because, like, I know what you're saying, but I'm so used to the American culture. I'm like, yeah, right? Aren't you? Yeah, you're not supposed to eat. But then I'm like, I love.
Why?
Yeah, I know
Why?
I love food. I love sharing it. I love making it with people. I love trying their food. Food is the best thing to bring people together by far.
Exactly. And I just hate that it's like, if you like work a job or something, like you can't sit there and snack. Like, why not? Like, why not? Why not? Why can't I eat some pretzels while I mix a band? Like, I'm like...
You're right. You're right. The only stipulation would be like, if you're in a class that has a bunch of gear and there's 20 people, if everyone's eating, you raise the chances of spillage, crumbs, getting on the gear, stuff like that.
But that's what I liked about the live sound room, too, is that they were like, you're adults, act like it. And that's what bothered me so much. But like in childhood, it was like being micro. Like I remember I had a French teacher, and I used to drink a lot of coffee in high school. And I would get my Dunkin' Donuts because I'm from Massachusetts. I would get my Dunkin' Donuts every morning with the wasteful styrofoam cup over it, because that's what you do when you live on the South Shore of Massachusetts. And I had French like second period or something like that. And I would sit there like this with my coffee. And my teacher came and was like, "Give me that." And I was
You
like,
drank coffee in high school, huh?
yeah.
When did you start drinking coffee?
9th grade, 10th grade.
Wow.
I did a lot in high school. Like I did school all day, ran track in the afternoon, and then did band at night, like jazz band or pit band or whatever band. I would have at least one band rehearsal.
All 4 years? Wow.
Yeah.
Do you still run it all, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've recently gotten back into it, but I ran 3 seasons in high school, so I ran cross country, winter, and spring track.
If you're ever interested in doing any 5Ks with us, I think we're going to start. Eddie and Kat
I would love
do
to.
them. I'm going to start doing them too.
Yeah, I was just thinking about signing up for one. That was what we ran in cross country. It was 5Ks.
And guess what, people? You can social distance while you run a 5K.
Yeah, it's true. So
it's probably a good thing to do.
Yeah,
actually.
So let me know. I would love to run a little 5K.
I will.
Yeah, I did a half marathon when I graduated high school, and then I kind of fell off with running. Like, I went to art school and nobody was doing that. So
running, you got to be careful running because, like, while you're young, you're like, I could do this, but it's like there's not longevity in it. It's pretty rough on the knees, the hips, the ankles.
I try to focus on like trail running now. I
running.
live right by the 606, but every time I run on it, it just like ruins my knees and hips.
It's bad. What I've taken up for the biggest thing of like health and diet has been I go on hikes at 5 mile hikes every day.
I love that.
Yeah, it's awesome. There's so many benefits. It's unreal. Just the sheer fact of being outside.
Yeah.
And then also being with your thoughts, reflecting, meditation, taking in the world and seeing nature and moving through it and having a beginning, middle, and end, that repetition.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm lucky that I'm working at home and I have the time to do it because not everyone does. But if anyone's listening that works from home and has the time or is unemployed, get out there and like do stuff. Like move, start small. If it's hard to walk that far, start with 1 mile, but try to get on trails because even walking on concrete for them, it's bad for your knees. So I stay on trails or grass always.
Yeah. So I've been trying to like integrate even more like late night walks. I'll just like walk around my block or walk down Milwaukee or something like that, or just I don't know. I'm like I moved to the city to not sit in my house, I guess. So
what a rough time to be in the city.
Yeah, it's
like the opposite of what you're supposed to be doing in the city.
Year there. It's
desolate.
I'm lucky that I live in such a big space that I
same space, right?
Yeah, same space. So if I didn't live there, it'd be rough because I just have so much space and so much like I can do whatever. Like I can set up like a whole like art setup, or like I can project movies on the wall, or I can I don't know, like I can literally just like lie on my floor. I can do yoga. Like I have a ton of space to do a ton of stuff. And I have enough. Like there's enough space that I'm not like on top of. Like me and my roommates are not on top of each other, so we're not like I want to use this space right now because there's spaces for us besides our bedrooms that all three of us can be in and not be on like in each other's way, which is great.
It is great. That's
and you have the same thing. Yeah,
I know. Like when someone's watching stuff there, I can go there. Someone's doing there, and I can go in the basement, the garage, the backyard. It's very. I'm fortunate and grateful. Yeah. I mean, it comes with a price, but that price is worth your sanity and emotional stability.
And right now, the price of that is a little bit lower to like not having a million random people in your house. Obviously, is during this is it's like nice because you have the space more to yourself. And and I've been really thankful for that too. Is just having all that space to.
Is that's been what are some of the big things you've done to keep your mental health under the last 9 months of what you've lost?
Painting has been a big one. And doing that, I've been watching, unfortunately, just a lot of garbage TV.
Like what?
Like everything. Like I love 90 Day Fiance. I love Real Housewives, especially Real Housewives of New York
Please
City.
keep going. This is too good.
A lot of people don't know this about me. My taste in television is garbage. People don't expect it because I'm like very like well spoken about a lot of other like artistic things, and they'd be like, have you seen this like crazy gripping show? And I'm like, no, I've been watching TLC for 3 days straight.
The Kardashians, keeping it with the Kardashians.
Seriously, I love that. Like I hate to
You want to know something funny? I don't mean to generalize here, but a lot of women I've talked to, like that you would think the same thing that you described yourself, keep telling me like, but then I watched this, and I think it's just like a decompression to like break away from like the constant.
I don't have to think about anything when I watch that.
There's
stuff.
nothing wrong with
that,
you know.
Like when I'm watching Ozark, I'm like stressed,
white knuckling it.
Literally, like all those kinds of shows that you have to like really pay attention. This, I'm like, I'm gonna go make a quesadilla. Like
that's like my version of that is just I listen to a lot of comedic podcasts to just like. I'll be sitting there like doing something like doing something for school or emailing, but then I'm like laughing at like these comedians that are just saying crazy stuff. Like that's my version of like that's where I get it from. I don't really watch a lot of stuff anymore. My New Year's resolution was to get rid of all my subscriptions to everything.
Wow, yeah.
And I slowly did that from like November to now, and I only have a couple days left on my Amazon.
Nice.
Oh my God, it's been amazing.
Yeah. I don't pay for any of my subscriptions, which is really bad, but I have logins to almost all of them.
Oh, yeah, everyone knows somebody.
I know, and luckily I know enough people to have harvested.
Well, I'm lucky because that TV, Eddie and Brian have all this stuff in there, so the only time I can watch anything is if I go to that TV. Okay. So I made it to where there's like a designated spot if I have to. It's not my phone, not my laptop, not anywhere else in the house. So like if I want to watch something, I go to the theater room, you know?
And then you can actually enjoy that room for its purpose rather than just being like on a tiny phone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I do love everyone's guilty pleasures. Everyone's got them.
Yeah,
in some
and it's
way.
not even the worst part is it's not even a guilty pleasure. It's like pretty much my taste in television. Like I hate to say it, but I like any like garbage reality show. I'm here for it, and I'll watch it over like real like people are like, "Have you seen The Queen's Gambit?" And I was like, "Nope."
Don't get me
but
started on that show.
Yeah,
I've watched it.
I'm sure it's fantastic.
No, it's great. I like the show.
Yeah.
I love the concept. I love all of it. What I'm bothered by, and you're hearing this first from me, I've been in love and always loved chess my whole life. I grew up playing it.
Everybody's out of the woodwork.
And everyone's, you get made fun of. You're a nerd. You're a dweeb. You're a geek. You play this weird game no one gets. And now it's hip because pop culture said so.
It's cool.
And I'm just like, oh,
now.
I know why it's hip.
Yeah.
A beautiful woman's playing.
Yeah.
Sex sells.
There was a Netflix show about it.
And it's on Netflix.
Yeah. So
it's. I love the fact that it is woman playing.
Yeah.
I think that's great. But I know what is going on behind that motive.
Exactly.
Not the genuine part of like, everyone should be able to play this amazing, heavy thinking, probably the hardest
if
thinking
women
game.
can do it, I can do it. And
Exactly.
It's like, shut up.
It's.
That shit.
I have nothing wrong with anybody playing it.
Yeah.
It's what Netflix and television and pop culture is doing with it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my God.
It's been cool to see people like be interested in it though. Like,
Yeah.
it's cool to see. Like, I've seen a lot of people doing like chess competitions.
Right. I'm being a little pessimistic.
Yeah.
I'm being a little over the
That's
top.
fine. You can
It's
feel
just,
that
I got
way if you've
30
been through
years
that,
of being a nerd.
being bullied and stuff like that. You can feel that way.
And then people are like, oh, this show, chess. I'm like, the same chess that everyone's been like, loser. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I can't. This game's weird.
And
This
no,
and that.
everybody's like, cling.
You know what's going to happen with next?
What?
Like Magic the Gathering. Bet you that becomes hip soon. Not in an ironic way.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way about like League of Legends and World of Warcraft. I used to play World of Warcraft when I was in high school, and I also got relentlessly bullied for it. Like, just they're like, "Why do you play that, gamer? Are you a gamer girl?"
I love the face you're making.
I just, things I've suppressed to this point.
We're nerds. Nerds get upset
Yeah.
when their nerdiness becomes cool.
Yeah,
Then you're like, well, why was I being
exactly.
ridiculed
Now
this whole
everybody's
time?
playing League of Legends and making money off of it, and I'm like, what? Like these kids who like win these competitions and win millions of dollars, and I'm like, and people watch that. People watch esports. That's the craziest thing to me now, that people watch other people play video games.
It's a new
And
it's
there's
a new
tons of
program
money
at
in it.
ISU.
That shit is crazy to me.
Yeah.
That and like when like not even like 10 years ago when I was like 14 and 15, like I was just getting full made fun of for it. Like, and everybody I played with just got full made fun of for it, and we were all just
Times change quickly now.
Computer nerds.
They change
And
quickly
he's like,
now.
"Why'd you spend money on a gaming laptop?" It's like, I don't know, none of your business. Like,
So it wouldn't glitch out on me when I'm
because
doing
it
all this
has
crazy
good
stuff.
audio and visual cards, and you can use it for audio in the future. I didn't know that then, but now it came back.
First world problems. Just complaining about like this game, that game, this show, that show.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm being very facetious. I think it's a great show, and I'm really glad that actually one of the most gear turning, mind bending games is becoming like popular.
mainstream.
Yeah, it's a good thing because if you want to like keep exercising your brain and not just like click like play games like that.
Exactly.
You know, it's really good for you. Gets you thinking in different ways, gets you planning into the future, learning how to execute certain moves, gauging on people,
Strategizing
strategy,
in general, thinking beyond just one.
and it's
what
tactile.
doing.
You're there. You're present.
Yeah.
You get to read other people's emotions. It's
Yeah.
fun. And guess what, people? It's okay to lose. Don't be a sore loser.
And it's nice that people have that at this time too, because going back to the reason we got on this TV thing is trying to just find something to like keep off of the laptop or the computer or the phone or can be kind of exhausting right now, because a lot of people, like, if you are working from home, you're on your laptop all day, and then if you have like another hobby or something, like I'm sure you are on your laptop all day for like to teach, and then you have to make sessions on your computer, and then you want to decompress, and it's like I could watch TV because that's like a mindless thing to do, and it's like very easy. But then it's like, wow, you spent your entire day just like
That's why I
staring at a
chose
screen.
like walk,
The hikes, and the
music,
walks.
the bands playing in three
Yeah.
band, like because
I know that's been great that you guys have been doing that like every.
I didn't realize
almost
how
every day.
I haven't realized how fortunate I am to like have. Most people are like, I don't want roommates, but when you're in a pandemic, it's great to have 4 roommates.
Exactly,
You're like, oh, I have people I get to be around and talk to.
Yeah.
Our friends have become more transparent and more okay with expression than I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Like literally, like we're helping each other. We're like Zach and Zach, who's like in my bubble. He doesn't go anywhere. He just comes there every day. We go on walks and hikes every day. We're doing it right after this.
I love that.
And while we're doing it,
You guys have practice tonight?
We do actually, yeah. Two practices in a row.
Yeah.
Double practice. We'll be walking and then we'll walk past like Eddie and Kat on a jog. I'm like, oh hey, and like we're all doing it and we're all like promoting, like, oh, when are you gonna go for a walk? We always want to do this 5K. It's like a year ago we never did this stuff.
Exactly. Like we'll do like yoga classes and like me and my roommates will do that, or we'll play like Catan or
Monopoly. Been doing a lot of Monopoly, just
a lot
fun
of board
stuff.
games, like a lot of just like, okay, let's get out of our beds. And at least we have each other type stuff.
Yeah, I feel bad for those who are alone.
Yeah.
Or live alone or just don't have a lot of friends around.
Yeah.
Like
I have a couple of friends who live alone, and I've incorporated them into my bubble, so they're
I did the same.
not. Yeah. Try to visit Trevor every once in a while.
He's been heavy in our bubble
I'm
because the
very
first
glad
3
that
months,
he's here.
when it was really scary,
Yeah.
he wasn't, and he
Yeah.
told me like, dude, it was awful.
Yeah.
Like he just moved in. You were there. He just moved
and I
into.
like would show up like I can come once a week.
Yeah, it's been really nice to have a bubble where we can have enough people to where we can play music still.
Yeah.
And it's weird because it's like we're not playing music for a show, right? But we started to realize we're playing music for ourselves.
Exactly, and you're improving your skill, and you're improving like the way your band sounds, and it's
Just
nice
having
to not
fun.
have like a complete goal with that, or like the goal just be like, okay, we have a show this week, we have to practice. It's just like we're doing it to get better.
Yeah, we're just getting better. We're honing in. Every band has 10, 12 songs we're playing, and I'm like, man, I know like 30 to 40 songs
Trevor
that
told me
other
he was
people
like,
wrote.
Yeah, he's like, we know 40 songs now by memory, and I
Yeah.
was like, that's crazy, that's awesome.
That's 9 months of just there's nothing else. Let's just keep practicing. We've missed a couple weeks here and there, but not really.
Honestly, that's not bad at all for not actually having like a end goal.
No end goal. I mean, we
There's
luckily
always a
we have a
technical-
studio we're in. We're gonna record the stuff
Yeah.
we're doing. We're blessed because of that.
And it's cool that you guys got to put out content that like you could put time into too. Like that beach footage was awesome.
Oh, thank you.
It was super cool.
That was insane.
Yeah, that looked so fun.
That was a lot of work.
Yeah, but like you have the time and you guys have practiced enough, and you didn't have to be like, oh, we have this session on this day, so we have to be perfect by this time. It was just like, all right, we're ready.
We had the right place.
Yeah.
Like the band we're in, we had someone who has the beach house. I had the gear, and we had the muscle and the people to carry hundreds of pounds of gear down
saw
180 steps through a forest with slanted steps and sand and not getting sand on the gear. And it was great, though.
That's really awesome.
It was wild.
That's really awesome.
What a wild thing to
know.
do. And sitting on the beach, like the headphones we're wearing,
Yeah.
like listening to the waves bleeding into the condenser
That's
mics
so
and these
cool.
SM7s.
Yeah.
We're just sitting there before Zach came with the camera to film us. We're just like looking at Vinny and Trevor and Sylvia and Dylan. We're like, this is insane. The sun's setting behind us. And
Yeah.
no one's around. All the rich people went away because it's getting a little cold.
I love that. Yeah, that was super, super cool. I
Thanks.
feel like the getting to do like little things like that here and there have made it. Like I did a music video with Jordana. We
I saw
recorded
that.
it. Yeah,
That was cool too.
Yeah, I forget that she's played here.
You mixed her, right?
No,
Oh,
it was the one year I wasn't here.
Oh, Steven
and I
did,
was
I think.
so bummed out about it because I'm in
Yeah.
her band too.
Yeah.
So
Right. You play sax.
yeah,
Man.
I know we were gonna.
That was a cool video too. Where
you.
was that filmed?
This abandoned church in Gary.
Why did I feel like this is probably in Gary?
Yeah, it was definitely.
It's always
in
an
Gary.
abandoned church in
Yeah,
Gary.
it was an abandoned church in Gary, Indiana, and it was like fun. It was so fun. She picked me up at like 6 a.m, and we just went, and it was me, her, the cinematographer, an assistant, and this other girl photographing, and it was all women,
That's awesome.
and it was just like
She's so talented.
she's so talented.
Her voice is
I love
amazing.
working with her. She is my favorite artist to like record with and work with in the studio. Her and Brock, like, I don't know. He's such a patient engineer, and just like working with them, they like allow me to just do what I want. And like when I get in the studio with them, they just will play loops and they'll just be like, right on the spot. So like all the stuff I write for her, like for saxophone wise, is just me sitting there thinking of something and then just writing layers for it, like in harmonies. After just I have like Brock will just loop it, and I feel like I don't even have to talk to him. Like I can talk to him, but like I feel like we just understand what's going on, and we understand like what we
chemistry?
all just have such like a similar vision for what we want out of the music that it's just like so natural and like non-contrived to be working in the studio with them and make music. And she just can explain what she wants, and I feel like I understand her enough to give it. And then Brock like is a great engineer in the way that he just understands like the pace that me and her work at. And yeah, I love working with them a lot.
There's nothing better than doing a form of creativity or expression and everyone involved is like on the same page, wavelength, and an idea.
Yeah.
That's one of the best things about the 3 bands that I've been playing with, similar to what you're saying, just like we're all on the same page. Any qualm is just like a constructive criticism, and it's not even a qualm. It's
it's just like
we're honest. What do you think about this part? What do you think about that part? You know, I think we should drop that out. And like, oh, I didn't think about that way, and we have nothing to do.
Yeah.
So we're like, we just repractice it. I'm like, you know what? I kind of like the fact that we took that one part out.
Change things around a little bit.
It's not stressful.
Exactly.
We're
you
not
don't
racing
go in
for
with
anything.
a total plan. Like when I do those sessions with her, I don't go in with a plan. She's just like, pull up, and I smoke a little weed, and
because it's legal now, not
it's
before.
Legal now.
Yeah.
Not before. I never smoked weed before it was legal. Disclaimer. I'm not sending my mom this
Have we?
one,
I don't
sorry.
know. Have we smoked weed before
We've
together?
definitely smoked weed before, but
I wouldn't remember because
Yeah.
when you're high, your brain, it's an egg.
your brain
It
is
fries.
mush.
It's on drugs.
It makes you lazy and unmotivated.
I'm not smoking or drinking this whole month.
Nice.
Just to do it.
I'm cutting down.
It's been great. Oh my god, I've never been so clear-headed.
Yeah. I had friends over the other night and I didn't drink. Or like my bubble, and I didn't drink, and I was like, this is sick.
It's insane
like, I
how
don't-
good you feel every
Yeah.
morning when you just went to bed sober, and also like doing the fasting, like going to bed on an empty stomach and no drugs in your system. You wake up, you're just like boom, boom, clarity like no other.
Yeah.
But I love smoking and drinking. It's. I've been telling myself, and I talk to a lot of my friends about it. Like, you have to. It's fine to do it. It's doing it for the right reasons, the right motivations behind it, not just doing it just to do it.
And understanding, like for me, it's a medicine. So I smoke regularly throughout the day. Like I transparently smoke about 5 times a day, 5 separate times a day, from pretty much when I wake up to when I go to sleep.
Some people have to though, because if you weren't doing that, you might be popping some pills.
Yeah, exactly. So it's but like I know that's not something everybody can do.
Right.
And I know I can still do my job totally fine. I know it helps me actually kind of like focus and zero in on one thing because my mind tends to be all over the place. Like I don't have ADHD, but I think I do.
You may.
Seriously,
You might.
like that's been another thing I've kind of realized through quarantine is just how different. I guess I think about things like my thoughts are just always racing, and when I smoke weed, it allows me to just kind of simmer down and kind of just think of one thing at a time rather than just like
put all that focus into one thing.
Yeah.
It's different for everyone. It can definitely get a bad connotation, but I'm like,
it's not for everybody
it's
either.
not for
And
everyone.
it
Just like
affects-
drinking's not for
exactly,
everybody.
and it affects everybody's brain chemistry differently, and it can lead people to a lot of anxiety, and it can lead people to a lot of like psychosis problems, and paranoia, like a lot of that kind of stuff. And I just hope that people start to acknowledge that rather than be like, I want to do it to feel cool, but like, I don't know, it's not like. It's not something you need to keep up with. Like I always tell people, like you don't have to like smoke every time I smoke because you want to be like if it's gonna like mess you up and you're just not gonna feel like yourself and you're not gonna be able to do anything, don't do it. Like I do this because I can and it makes me feel like focused and concentrated and it makes me feel good in my body and like.
And most of them might mitigate any health.
Yeah,
ailments.
exactly. And I have a lot of like physical pain from my disease and it helps me with that and it helps me not like be nauseous all the time because
it's way better than trying to fight that with alcohol or
exactly
pills,
I don't want to take steroid like they wanted me to take a 5-week course of steroids for Crohn's right before I went on tour. I was like there's no way I'm taking a 5-week course of steroids while I live on a bus. There's no way. So to mitigate that pain and like the nausea because I just without it I just am generally nauseous because my stomach is always like burbling and gurgling. Someone said I had a spaghetti strainer stomach yesterday.
It's a rough disease.
Yeah, I'm learning to live with it. It's definitely not like the worst thing in the world. It's definitely like something you can live with and live a relatively normal life with. And
thank God for like 2021 knowledge and
exactly.
food and stuff.
Yeah,
You could do a lot with it.
Yeah, and there's no real cure for it besides like just managing it with either pharmaceuticals or diet. So I'm choosing to do it with my diet. And that goes back again to the food thing. I've kind of, even though I don't have like necessarily, especially right now, the income to be buying like all this like super hyper healthy food that's like easy and convenient, like I've allocated my budget different that like even though I don't make a lot of like money, I can still spend, like I still spend a lot on food because it's just something I need to do for myself. Like it's just a part of my treatment and that. So
a lot of folks should, you have to do that because of what you're going through, but a lot of people kind of, they don't prioritize the right things in life.
Your diet is incredibly important. You are literally what you eat, and
it is
food is actually fuel. So if you're not getting the right amount of vitamins, if you're not getting the right kind of things, if you're eating things your stomach has a hard time digesting, 'cause that's the thing I deal with the most. My stomach does not digest a lot of my food. So like you just need to kind of compensate for that and understand like I need to intake more vitamins because my body doesn't absorb vitamins because it doesn't break down food. So I need to supplement that in another way. And I think people just don't understand that you can cure so many things that you're on pills for with literally just how you eat. If you change the way you eat a little bit or add some supplements here and there, like you can get rid of a lot of like base level or I don't know. You can just treat a lot of things
You're
with food.
absolutely correct.
You can treat a lot of things with food.
Diet, exercise, and lifestyle. Little things like getting more daylight into your eyes, on your skin.
Yeah.
You know, I've been for the last since I voted back November 2nd or 3rd, whatever day that was. I've been getting up at 7 ever since then.
Wow.
Because I got up every day, 7 days a week. I don't care.
Yeah.
If worst case scenario, I might get up at 8 if I like went to bed at like 2 or 3 or something. Wow. But just to get for sunlight, just for the sunlight and the discipline.
And that's what I am struggling with now because usually on a regular day I'll wake up like 11:30 noon and then
4 or 5 hours dark again.
And it's like I spend the first hour in my bed still, and I live right under the blue line, so I have a big shelf in front of my bed that blocks all the light or that blocks the window so people can't see me in my bed from the blue line platform, but it also blocks me getting like a natural cycle of sunlight. Like I don't.
That's rough.
Yeah. So I'm trying to get out. There's a porch right like off my room, so I'm trying to like motivate every morning to go sit out in the porch for like 5 minutes while I smoke in the morning. Like I'll go and sit on the porch.
Small little increments add to a lot. Like don't beat yourself up because you're not doing all these things perfectly. It's like do little things like your diet. You're saying
exactly.
Getting good sleep like 7, 8, 9 hours.
Yeah.
Eating
definitely
well.
doing that.
What's up?
I said definitely sleeping a lot.
A lot more people are because of like not having work or being able to work from
makes a
home and they
difference.
get rid of the commute.
Yeah.
So you get that extra 30, 45 minutes of sleep. It makes a huge difference. I mean, but you do these little increments and
if you treat yourself well, you last longer.
You last longer, you feel better.
You
and it's
feel
very
better.
perpetual.
Yeah.
That feeling of feeling good perpetuates yourself forward to want to keep doing it.
Exactly.
And then you become annoying because you preach it to people around you.
But it's also,
you know.
I feel like the incremental process of it is really important because I feel like a lot of people are like, new lifestyle, new me starting tomorrow. I'm going to stop eating. I'm going to cut out white sugar. I'm going to cut out all these processed foods. I'm going to cut out this. I'm going to start running every day. And then you get through a week of that and you're like, fuck this. I'm done. I'm done. Like, why? And I feel like it's easier to slip into that, like, just be like, okay, I'm just going to go back to the way I was because whatever. But I think when you just start to add things little by little, it kind of just propels you into just a healthier lifestyle in general.
They get easier too.
Yeah.
Like the next task.
Yeah.
It gets easier. You also psychologically go like, well, I accomplished that. I do my running or my hiking or whatever. I eat well. I've been sleeping. So now like reading more or learning on the second language might get easier or you feel better, more confident.
You want to do more things for yourself because you start to see the reward of how doing things for yourself makes you feel. And it was hard for me at the beginning of quarantine. I just waste manned in my bed for like 2 months and I just watched TV and I ate and I was doing Instacart. So I was in like Jewel and all these stores I don't usually go to, buying like Oreos for people, and then I was like psychologically like, damn, Oreos sound good.
People buying Oreos during quarantine.
People, oh my god.
Wait. I want you with
People
that
buy
insight.
the worst shit.
With the insight, Yasmine, I
People
want you to tell the
abuse.
world what people did with quarantine Instacart money.
People are disrespectful, first and foremost, is what I'll say. I do Instacart in the city. I try to focus in the downtown West Loop area because that's where the money is, or like Lincoln Park. Yeah.
Cheddar.
But also, those people don't tip. They're like, bring 10 cases of LaCroix up to my 44th floor apartment and then don't leave you a tip.
Oh.
And it's like that kind of stuff. People who just buy candy. Like, you really have me out in a grocery store buying you $60 of candy and delivering it to your house a half a mile away.
During a quarantine?
Like, you're really risking my life, and like, you're also not tipping me for that. Like, or people just hoarding, like, I want 26 packs of chicken sausage. Like, just like, there's not 26 packs of chicken sausage at the store even. And then
were you buying a lot of toilet paper and paper towels from people?
Yeah. And people would get mad because you can request more on the app. Like, you'd be like, I need 20 things of toilet paper, and like the store only lets you buy one right now. So it's like,
I didn't get that craze.
Yeah, I didn't get it either. And we have a Costco membership at my house, so like we were already stocked on all that kind of stuff. But
that was so weird. I'm like, you don't survive because of toilet paper and paper towels. You survive because of healthy food.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't get it.
It was a lot of people getting angry over stuff that like, why couldn't you get me 2 things of eggs? And it was like, because I literally am not allowed to buy 2 things of eggs, and then they take your tip away. Or just people being like, there are a lot of really sweet people who left like crazy big tips.
Oh, yeah.
And like, I would bring people's groceries from Costco, and they would leave me like $70 tips, like $60 tips. And I love and appreciate all those kinds of people, especially because if you have the luxury to sit at home while somebody who is making like $20 or like $10 an hour to like bring you your groceries, like, you should treat them well.
Yeah,
like if you like, please redistribute your wealth like through that, because the shit I saw in the stores those first couple of weeks was insane. Before the mask mandate, I saw a man in Mariano's literally open a thing of grapefruit juice, drink it, and close it and put it back. I've like gotten in fights with people about like getting the last of something, or like, it's just, I don't know. And to like make somebody go through all that so you can have candy delivered to your house and not leave a tip is really shitty.
Candy, that's a big problem.
Yeah.
Adults eating candy. Candy is a treat.
Yeah.
It's a treat. Like,
exactly.
Have it once in a while. That's fine.
Yeah.
I get it. Have your s'more, have your Oreos. But like daily?
Yeah. And
Come
it's
on
like
now.
some people, I don't know, it's like all they buy, and like, and then they'll have like ingredients for buffalo wings, and they'll be like, get me pre-cut celery, and that's the only vegetable. The only thing of vague nutrition is cut celery to go with buffalo wings on your order. Not to critique how people eat, I guess, after I said I'm sick of people shaming people for how they eat. But if you're going to get delivery and you're going to pay the price markup, because all the food, everything on Instacart is marked up. If you buy it from the app, it's all marked up.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're going to buy marked up food, you obviously have money to do that. And if you're going to get it delivered, you obviously have money to do that. So you obviously also have money to afford healthy foods.
Yeah.
So why are you making me risk my life in a pandemic to bring you candy?
That's a great point.
So yeah, it was a very dystopian gig to pick up, but I think out of all the delivery apps, you do make the most money.
Yeah.
And
people I know who did it definitely could do pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah. There was also like a problem with like bots that would like harvest the best orders, and
I heard about that as well.
Took me off of it. But yeah, it was a nice little saving thing, and I do it every.
You do it still?
Yeah, I do it every once in a while
Yeah.
if the orders are good. But I don't know. It's got to they hired like 300,000 people at the beginning of the pandemic. I was obviously one of them. But since then, it's like kind of like all the things that are worth doing are always snatched up by either the bots or people like immediately. So
yeah,
I'm like, I'm not gonna drive a long way to get $10.
It's less too, right? Because people are kind of a little more comfortable
going out. Yeah, and people are
more
comfortable going out now. And people also, at the beginning of the pandemic in like March and April, people always tipped big, like almost always got like at least $10 out of a tip. And now people obviously don't care as much.
It gets old. You like can't
Exactly.
be spending all that money tipping left and right every week.
Exactly, and people are going to the grocery store more, so there's just like less less available. But yeah, I don't know. Kind of saved my life a little bit this year.
Yeah.
Having a car was nice to be able to do something like that.
It also puts in perspective for those who had like, not just using you as an example, but people who had like good, healthy, normal, decent paying jobs, and then makes you respect like the service industry more. People who live off tips.
Yeah.
Like when I've always left like good tips when I do anything, but like now if I order like a pizza, I'll leave that person like 50% tip.
Exactly.
Because it's like this guy or girl, it's
Exactly.
usually some old guy around here is just like, it's an old guy.
Yeah.
Like this guy's barely getting by. He's like in his
And
60s
why
delivering
would you
pizza.
ever feel that you're better than them?
I don't.
Exactly. But a lot of people do. And that, like, I was a server too. Like, I used to be a waitress. And that's where I just started, was like being like, damn, people treat service workers like shit. Like,
They do.
Like, yeah. And this, I don't know, yeah, coming back from like, I had kind of transcended that and started doing like my real career and making like a really like good amount of money, like for what I, like for working in the arts at my age, like.
Of course.
And then to just kind of go back to that, it was like, yeah, this is a very real reality. And it was nice to not lose sight of that, I guess. But I feel like a lot of people just kind of like are like, oh, that's like a high school job, or that's like a, if you're stupid job, or if you don't have a college degree. But it's like anybody, like,
Plenty of smart
plenty of
people are
smart
bartenders
people,
and waiters.
Exactly. And it's like, don't like be rude to me because I'm delivering your groceries. Like, I'm a human being.
Don't be rude to anybody.
Yeah, don't
Like
be rude.
anybody.
Yeah. So that was an interesting experience. All the odd jobs this year have been odd. Like the Biden campaign was the weirdest shit I've ever done in my life.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah. So my friend from...
Well, this will be the last main subject we
Okay.
talk about.
Yeah, holy shit, it's 2:00.
I told you it's a dime
Yeah,
open here.
wow, yeah. My friend from the Smino tour, who was the merch guy, shout out my guy Kent, hit me up like 2 weeks before the election and was like, yo, come down to North Carolina. Like, I'm the head of this office for like the Biden campaign. Like, we're just canvassing and you can make like $3,000 if you come today, like by the election. And I was like, okay, like I could use that. So they flew me out to North Carolina within like literally the next day. I got this crazy cool hotel room, but I also walked around Winston-Salem, North Carolina for like 13 days, knocking on doors, asking people to vote for Joe Biden in North Carolina.
That
Did I
must have
say
been
in North
fun.
Carolina again?
Wait, the caveat is you are a Moroccan
Yeah.
young woman.
Yep. Nah.
Perceived to be Muslim.
Yep.
So
Dressed like this.
dress the way you dress.
And I've been, since I like have grown as an adult, I've identified more and learned to love my natural hair. And at that time I was wearing my natural hair and yeah, just
Volumes.
volumes.
That must have been wild.
Had doors slammed in my face, was called tons of names.
What's the worst thing you were called?
This one lady was like, we're in a pandemic. You better get off my property right now or I'm going to like but screaming that. Like, she was like, you need to leave my house right now. And like, I don't know, having to like knock on people who like visibly had Trump signs, like,
Oh, boy.
because they have you on this app and you have to go to all these houses that are marked on it and just be like, hi, I'm here with Vote Blue. Do you have a plan for the election? They're like, slam the door.
What percentage would you say, like, cared or like, well, okay, like, oh, what do you have to say
Like
about
30%.
it? Okay, so a good chunk was not
Yeah,
cool
good.
about it.
Like majority of people would not answer their doors, and I felt weird doing it because it is weird to knock on people's door during a pandemic. I would
It
not.
is.
I would not answer the door if somebody knocked on my door right now, and I thought about that the entire time. I was like, I absolutely would not answer the door
Yeah,
for this right now.
that is an awkward position to be
Yeah.
in.
So, but I needed money. But it was weird to just like walk around like these rural areas of somewhere I have never been in my entire life, in the dark sometimes because I would work 8 to 8.
Oh, wow.
So it would just get dark and I'd be like in the middle and they like with my phone dying, just being like, hey, you gonna vote for Joe Biden? And, like knocking on doors in these like big like houses or these like, I don't know, like very spread apart too because it's still a lot of like land.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's North Carolina. It's
Yeah.
not the most populated area.
Exactly. So it would just be like walking 25 minutes between houses sometimes.
It sucks, too, because it's like, I haven't met many people our age in our field with our ideologies that are like, I just love Joe Biden so much. He's just the dream candidate, you know?
And that was the other thing. Everybody I was working with was like, fuck this, man. Like,
I know.
let's get Trump out of this bitch. But
that was the biggest problem with that election was like, yeah, a lot of people were against Donald Trump, but Joe Biden was like not ideal.
And that was like the most feedback I got. People would be like, I don't really know. I don't like them. I don't like either of them. And I was like, I had to be like, well, you should vote for Joe Biden because even though I was like, I definitely understand how you feel.
I concur, but
I concur, but I'm here to tell you, here's this piece of literature that you probably shouldn't touch because we are in a global pandemic. But
isn't that 2020 brought you to some wacky
and
places?
The organizers were like you need to be getting those numbers, knock on those doors. You need to talk to people. You need to have your personal anecdotes about why you think this needs to happen. And I was just like, I'm here to get my money and go. But
that was a stressful election.
Yeah, and it was a stressful election. And I remember on election day, we had to canvass on election day.
Oh, wow.
In North Carolina. I keep
you were
saying
there.
In North Carolina. Yeah. I was there on election day. I was there until the 4th.
And they were like, that got pretty close.
Close, yeah.
Strangely close.
Flipped red, but it was cool to be like, that was good. I guess I had a very, 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 very minor hand in that.
You never know, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, this election was absolutely groundbreaking, wacky, off the charts, was weird.
And the way it, I found out, and the weirdest thing was after that, I got a call for a NASCAR show the next day, and that hadn't happened to me where I went from one gig to another gig back to back in the whole year. I'm used to that usually, but that hadn't happened. So I went to that, and I found out at the NASCAR gig that Biden won, and everybody was happy, and I was just there's still so much. Nothing changes today.
Yeah,
I doubt anything is going to change on the 20th. When all that
the inauguration and stuff.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm not.
That's so close. It's 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
it's cool to celebrate that he's gone, but it's not we're getting much better.
I agree. Yeah.
And it's sad to see people be like, okay, we can go back to normal now. It's normal sucks. Normal is really horrible. And
what is
for
normal?
A lot of people? Yeah. Your normal is oppression for millions and millions of people. Is just complete oppression.
I know, and that's why I try not to do this, and I hate when people want to reminisce me oh man, it used to be so much better back in the day. It's
with
for
Obama,
who?
For who?
And I'm talking in the back in the 50s, things were simpler. If you were a white man.
Yeah, exactly.
This Jim Crow era is still going on. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
oh my
it's
God.
never been. I don't know. It drives me crazy when people say that about Obama too. I'm he was cool, I guess, whatever, but he still did drone strikes on millions and millions of Afghani and Muslim children.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I didn't forget that.
Of course not.
And I know Joe Biden's going to do the same thing. And as much as I hate to say it, it was kind of cool that Trump took troops out of the Middle East in the last couple of years.
It's nice to hear you say that. It's nice to hear you say that. Being who you are.
Yeah.
Saying
it's fuck Donald Trump forever. But
of course, of course. But you have to admit when someone, regardless of their creed or who they are, did something that is actually better.
Yeah.
Or good, or at least the right thing to do in that moment.
And he didn't I also hate that people say by doing that he created peace in the Middle East because he absolutely did not do that. No. But what he did is stop meddling and stop wasting our resources in just creating destruction.
Mm-hmm.
That's a step, and lives from being ended. And he did a lot of other really horrible things and a lot of other horrible policies, but I guess that is a positive thing for me. That is something that made me happy to see. Mm-hmm. I guess it's maybe the only thing besides him trying to say that he wanted 2,000 over the 600. That was I get with that. I can get with that.
Yeah,
I'm to side with him.
I'm down with what Andrew Yang proposed.
Yang gang, bro.
The universal basic income.
UBI, we need UBI.
For at least, if not indefinite thing, at least until everything's back to normal, and vaccines are implemented properly.
Exactly.
Something, because it's $600 is nice for 2 seconds because most people's rent is more than that.
I just paid all my bills with it. It's gone.
Mine too.
I got it on the first.
I don't even have it anymore.
It's gone.
Same thing. It's okay. Thanks, but
cool. I haven't had anything to pay for anything for 10 months. I'm gonna use this immediately.
Yeah, it's
But yeah, I'm a big Yang gang.
Yang
He was
gang.
my original. It was him and Bernie for me.
Bernie, I would love like a trifecta of like Bernie, Yang, and like would be another good person. Tulsi was all right. She wasn't that bad.
Yeah. I don't know. They're all politicians are at some point like kind of snaky.
Well, the ones that just get shut down are the ones who don't have anything really compromised with them.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Yang
Like
or Bernie,
Bernie,
and
yeah.
they just get swept under the rug.
Exactly.
Because
So,
they're not compromised,
Yeah.
you know.
so it's just hard to play that game. But like,
We should run. You president, I'm vice president.
yeah,
Yeah, we got this. What would be your
good.
what would be your message? What would be your slogan?
my slogan. Oh, this is hard.
Make America healthy again.
No, nothing like that. And I'm sick of seeing like the parody hats, like
Yeah.
of like make this great again.
Yeah.
It's like it's triggering. I don't want to. If I see someone wearing a hat that's red and has words on it, I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck you. Like, flat
Again,
out.
what year are we talking about great again? Like, you know, when you'd see that, like,
Right.
what
Like,
are we talking
when
about?
were we great? Was it when we stole this country? Was it when half of the people, or was it when we enslaved an entire continent and
Yeah.
brought them over and erased their entire lineage and history?
Yeah, yeah.
Was it when we like started crazy wars and intervened in stuff that we didn't need to intervene in?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's never been like, I don't know. It's always been at the expense of black and brown people, always. So it's-
Anybody's minority, women,
Yeah.
black, brown, Asian, Mexican, anything. Like the wall thing was extremely weird for me. Like, because
Yeah.
my dad was like not in support of it, but like didn't
Not
know
against
how to
it?
not be because he's like
Yeah.
Republican. But like,
Okay.
but like didn't know, like when you're married to your ideologies based on your religion and stuff, and
Yeah.
it's deep threaded in you, it's hard to like swim through those waters.
Yeah, exactly,
Especially
because-
when you don't have the internet and like books to learn more, and
Yeah.
you're just kind of an older person.
And we're in this two-party system where it's like these are the only two ways.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, like obviously, like I don't believe in a two-party system. I know most people don't at this point.
I don't at
because
all.
it's like we're just always stuck between a lesser of two evils, and that's fucking ridiculous.
We
for
need like
running
20 parties.
a country, like
Yeah.
a whole, like one of the biggest countries
That
in the world.
influences the globe.
The entire, yeah, we are a global influence, like,
Yeah.
and we just have two idiots. that are,
Two old
two
guys, really old
guys. Yeah, exactly.
Biden's gonna be 80 before he's out.
two old white guys too. It's like you've never seen shit. Like,
No.
what have you really seen that like? I know he's been through a lot, and his sons have died, and like.
But guess what?
But guess
Other
what?
people's sons have died too.
Yeah, exactly.
Of different races,
regularly. Yeah,
Who have no money or
as
fame
children
or power or nothing. Mm-hmm.
for no reason, with no justice, and have no money, and are in debt because they had to pay for funerals for children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, on any note, make all drugs legal,
Make all drugs legal.
and
That would be my slogan: make all drugs legal.
That's a good
That's my
slogan. I can
presidential
get
slogan.
behind that,
Good.
and I could argue and debate that forever for anybody who's against it.
Do you
too.
remember my friend Robert, who I brought here from Massachusetts?
I do. Yeah,
Okay.
he went to Harvard, right?
Yeah, he went to Harvard,
I do
and he
remember
wrote
that.
his entire thesis on making all drugs legal.
I want to read
Yeah,
that.
I will forward that to you.
That's cool.
Yeah, and he does a lot of work in that aspect, which is really commendable of him, especially as someone I've known my entire life and it doesn't do drugs.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's even better.
Yeah.
That's so clear-headed
He really
and
just
unbiased.
doesn't
Then, if
do
you
drugs,
don't do
yeah.
drugs and you're like, they should be legal.
Yeah.
Well, we know what prohibition does.
yeah,
Throws people who are poor and of color in prison. Go back to the 20s.
yeah,
When alcohol was illegal, all it did was create organized crime
exactly.
and kill people
Yeah,
and
and a
hurt people
reason
and
to
poison
put
people.
black people and brown people in prison. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I see, I don't know, a lot of my cousins grew up in the Netherlands where drugs are legal, and like they don't have the same problem, like they don't have an opioid crisis because it's, if you want to do that, and if you like, it's not stigmatized to be like, I need help, or I need to get off of this, or I need whatever, or it's, I don't
You're
know.
also never going to really overdose if you're going to a clinic where an actual doctor
Yeah.
is implementing a drug that you won't get AIDS or hepatitis C from.
Exactly. And you don't have to, you don't deal with the whole health crisis that it becomes and the crisis of homelessness because people are able to receive treatment and like
Mm-hmm.
figure their lives out or receive housing because just because you do drugs doesn't mean you don't deserve housing.
Mm-hmm.
And just because you have a disease or just because you're addicted to something doesn't mean
The disease you just said, that's the most
it's a
important.
disease.
It is a
Addiction is
disease.
absolutely a disease.
It's a disease
and people
like
don't
you've never
recognize it.
seen.
Never, yeah. And my dad, after he had his stroke, developed alcoholism, and watching that, like am frustrated with people who are like, why are you doing this to yourself? Why don't like, and that would, I don't know. It's like, you're not doing this to yourself. You have like it's a disease. Like you really can't control it. Like
you'll see people who have children. They might be attractive and fit. They might have a good job. They might have everything, and they still do it. Like, I'm telling you, it is not just like, oh yeah, they should just stop. What's their deal? It's like, no, it's
like,
a serious
why can't you
disease.
stop? If you cared, you would stop. But it's like you literally physically can't. It's a real problem, and people don't treat it like that. And then it becomes the stigma of like, well, if you wanted to stop doing drugs or if you wanted to stop drinking, you could, but you won't because you only care about yourself. But that's not the truth. It's like you can't find out how to care about yourself if everybody's just telling you that you don't care about yourself because you do this thing. And it just it creates a very like unhealthy environment about using drugs because then you have the aspect of people want to do it because they want to rebel, because it's cool, because it's like, I'm doing this because I'm not supposed to be doing this. And it's like, okay, you're doing that, but then you can't tell anybody and you can't have a network of resources and you can get into more trouble that way because you can't call people and be like, hey, I am super drunk and I can't drive this car. Like, because you don't want people to shame you for that.
Yeah.
So you do that and you put yourself and other people in dangerous situations. And I think if people just were... I don't know, like, you don't have to do drugs if you don't want to, but if other people do, like, what's the issue? And what's the issue with them trying to find help for that? Because less people are going to ruin their lives doing drugs and drinking and do all that if there's, like, a safe place that they can go. Or, like, if they just feel generally cared for as a human being. I feel like people just lessen your humanity when you have an addiction.
Yeah, they treat you lesser than they treat you like this... not like an animal, but they just kind of treat you like, well, they're just like this thing that's like a problem.
You're a child
You're
that
a
can't control
hangnail,
yourself.
You know?
Yeah, you never grew up. You don't care about anybody but yourself. You're a leech. You're this, you're that. And it's like, no.
Well,
people have actual problems. And like,
you're doing the drug, not to do the drug. You're doing the drug because you're trying to cope with some type of problem.
Exactly. And a lot of drugs are medicine. And it's silly that people think that like taking pills is okay. And then you can shame people for smoking weed.
Oh my God. Don't even get me started on that. Every time anybody's my family and they're like holding alcohol while they tell me like it smells like weed, it's like you're drinking one of the worst substances
you're drinking literal poison. I'm smoking something that came from the earth. Like,
well, just like let's look at the numbers. How many people have died from marijuana? How many people have died from alcohol?
Exactly. 0.
How many men have hit their kids or wives because they were stoned? They're probably just laughing at Superbad.
Yeah.
And then you have people who are drinking who actually are causing domestic violence.
Or like, or regular violence, or like getting in a car and causing accidents. Or it's just staggering how people think like, and America has such like an alcohol-centric culture. Yeah. It's just like I feel like it's part of every social cornerstone is drinking here. And it doesn't allow people who aren't comfortable around drinking yet, or aren't like, or are recovering from alcoholism or recovering from that. It doesn't create a safe space for people to like want to socialize.
Yeah.
So then you have people who are recovering alcoholics and are trying to like cope and be around it, but like, and you can't go and be around people without people drinking and like without, I don't know. And
you have a slight guilt trip about it.
Yeah, and then you're stigmatized like, oh, you can't drink, like, or oh, you don't drink, and then it's like, yeah, because if I drink, you call me an addict. So I'm trying to do the best for myself, but then you're shaming me for not being able or not taking part of something that you're going to shame me for taking part in if I can't control myself later. And that's, it's sick. It's messed up. Yeah, it makes me really upset.
I mean, this has been a wonderful conversation. We had some really sad and dark things.
I know.
But you know what? Not that I love it, but what I love about these types of conversations is it's real. It's everyday stuff. It's between people's existence of work, school, sex, money, happiness, creativity. It's real. Exactly. This is what people go through.
Exactly.
People are unemployed right now. People do drugs. People die. People vote. People cry. People express. These things should be talked about more instead of like, I don't know about that. I can't. It's like, who cares?
Yeah.
To me, this was a wonderful conversation.
You had a great time.
Thanks for coming.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
You'll be back again someday.
I would love to.
Yeah, and I hope that you keep doing what you're doing. Keep making art. Keep playing saxophone.
Yes.
Keep working on yourself. Staying positive. exercising. We're definitely going to go on some
We're
runs.
gonna do some 5Ks.
Yes.
Yes.
And stay positive
I will.
and keep doing what you do best.
You too, dude.
Thank you. All right. I'll talk to you later.
Yep.
Ciao.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Take care.